Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Neo Yondaime Hokage in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 21, Wins and Losses. At the bridge. What is this? Tajuna yelled as he, Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke and Sai had arrived at the bridge and were met with the sight of the workers laying there unconscious. This is, Sakura said. Form the ring, Kakashi commanded. The ninjas formed a protective ring around Tajuna, each pulling out a kunai while getting ready. Then a thick mist came rolling in. Kirigaku or no jutsu, Zabuza's voice came throughout the mist. I hate this jutsu, Sakura growled. Suddenly 10 Mizu Bunshin of Zabuza appeared around them. Go Sai, Kakashi said. He nodded. He pulled out some shurikens and threw them at the clones. The Mizu Bunshins got stabbed in their bodies and fell down into puddles of water. The mist cleared a bit and there stood the real Zabuza with the masked fake hunter Nin next to him. It would seem that this fight will give us some trouble, Zabuza said. Indeed, Haku said. Sasuke and Sai, you two fight that fake hunter Nin while I fight Zabuza. Sakura, you guard Tajuna, Kakashi commanded. The genins nodded as they went to do as instructed. It seems you really want to fight? Very well, you know your opponents, Zabuza said to the girl next to him who nodded. The first to move was Haku. She rushed at Sasuke with a senbon, long needle. Sasuke blocked with his kunai and tried to kick Haku, who blocked with her foot. It looks like we're at a stalemate, Sasuke said, but Haku shook her head. No, I have two advantages. First, I have occupied one of your hands, then there is the water around us, Haku said and started forming one-handed seals. Sasuke gasped when he saw it. One-handed? I have never seen that before, Sasaki replied. Hihutsu, Sensatsu Suishao, secret technique, flying water needles, Haku called, and the water around her rose up and turned to ice needles. The needles flew towards Sai and Sasaki, and just before they hit, Haku jumped away. The two boys focused chakra into their legs, and at the same moment Haku jumped, Sasaki and Sai jumped as well, effectively dodging the needles. Haku spun and tried to appear like a tornado. She had several senbon in her hands, making her spin motion very dangerous. The two boys jumped away from the needles before they made contact. Meanwhile, Naruto was making his way to the bridge when suddenly, Ishikuzari no Kazui no Mari, stone chain spike ball. A large rock covered with razor-sharp spike grown from out of it, came flying at him. Naruto narrowly evaded the attack as the rock ball flew over his head and landed into the ground with great force, forming a crater in the process. Naruto saw that the spike ball was connected to what looked like a long chain that appeared to be made of stones. Tracing the chain back to its source, Naruto looked and found the culprit some distance away from him. Ryota, Naruto said sourly, what an unpleasant surprise. You're just as fast as before, Ryota said, that's the second time I missed your head in 2 days straight. How do you like my Ishikuzari no Kazui no Mari? It's a weapon of my own device and you surprisingly got me into using it against you, especially since I only use this weapon on Jounin level ninjas. I don't have time for you, girl, Naruto said, leave me alone. The blonde was cut short when Ryota retracted the rocky spike ball to her. Naruto dashed away, barely making it at the spikes on the ball slashed at his right arm. Naruto held back his voice as he felt the razor-edge sharpness of the spikes pierce his now bleeding arms, which he was holding. Ryota grabbed the ball and held it in her hand. Quit calling me, girl, Ryota shot back abrasively, my name is Ryota. Remember it, since I'll be the last person you'll ever see. I held back against you yesterday. But I intend to fight seriously this time. Naruto pulled out a kunai and placed a seal marker on it. After making a kage bushin, he handed his clone the kunai before the clone ran off on his way from him and the Iwa Kunoichi. It's clear that you're as hard-headed as a rock, Naruto said while implying mockery with the term rock, you're a bother. Ryota snarled at Naruto as she pulled the chain and thrust the very large spike ball into the air before swinging it around like a lasso speedily. I'm gonna crush you like a tin can, Ryota declared as she threw her spike ball strike into Naruto's direction with intent on carrying out her threat. Naruto dodged the attack again, but what happened next was unexpected on his part. The ball turned around and raced back into Naruto's direction. Naruto barely had time to evade the surprise attack as he grabbed two of the spikes at the last second. Unfortunate for the blonde, however, was that it didn't stop there. The spikes on the ball suddenly grew longer and attempted to stab him. He managed to dodge one of the spikes before getting stabbed by another to his left shoulder. Kyoto heard Naruto screamed in pain from the stab. "You don't look so superior now, do you?" Ryota taunted. "You can't hold off that ball forever. I'll use this very weapon to grind you to dog food. I hope Kakashi Aizen and the others are having a better time than me," Naruto thought to himself as he felt blood pour out of his wounds. Meanwhile, "I don't wish to kill you both, and it isn't anything personal. This is the end," Haku said, and formed some weird seals, Hihutsu, Makyu Hyushao, secret technique, demonic ice mirrors, ... The water around Sasuke and Sai rose up and formed mirrors of ice arranged into a sphere around Sai and Sasuke. Haku walked up to one of the mirrors and melted into it. "What is that?" Sakura asked as she and Tajuna witnessed what happened. "That mist Nin, she has a bloodline limit," Kakashi asked, and Zabuza nodded. "That is her ultimate jutsu. Those two kids won't be able to survive it. No one has beaten it, ever," Zabuza bragged. "Nothing is as dull as bragging. Let's go," Kakashi said. Zabuza chuckled and the mist thickened around them. "You may be the copycat ninja, but I am the superior when it comes to killing without sight," Zabuza said. Kakashi sighed and blocked 3 shuriken that Zabuza threw. Inside the ice dome, Sasuke and Sai looked around inside the dome of ice mirrors. In every mirror, there was an image of Haku holding several needles. "What, Bunshins?" Sasuke wondered out loud. He was answered by a shower of senbon needles, some of which they managed to evade though being cut by the others. The two genins took out some shurikens and started throwing at the mirrors. Haku raced speedily through the mirrors while Sasuke managed to keep up with her a bit, throwing his shurikens. Sasuke then went through some hand signs, seeing his chance to attack. "Katon, Gukaku no Jutsu, fire style, grand fireball technique," said Sasuke before he took in a deep breath before releasing the blast of fire from his mouth towards Haku, who scarcely evaded the flames, amazed at his recent attack at her. "He was able to follow me where I go with his eyes, almost as though he had a bloodline limit of his own. Wait. His eyes are now red with a coma on each of them, making them different from before. Did he awaken a bloodline limit of his own?" Haku wondered as she had escaped to the sanctuary of another ice mirror. "You seemed stunned. I guess you never went up against an Uchiha before," said the now smirking Sasuke, looking at Haku. "An Uchiha? Zabuza-sama warned me about that clan and their eyes. I heard they were all wiped out with the exclusion of 2. This one must be the survivor of the massacre, given that he's still young," Haku thought before speaking. "It makes no difference to me whether or not you're an Uchiha. You won't escape this ice prison of my creation." Sai pulled out a paintbrush and scroll. Opening the scroll quickly, Sai made a quick painting of a bear. Doing the required hand seals, Sai said, "Kojojiga, Super Beast's imitation picture." Suddenly the painting of the bear came to life and stood in front of Sai and Sasuke. Sasuke tried not show it, but he was surprised by this new jutsu Sai just used. "What jutsu is this?" Haku and Sasuke both wondered. "I never seen such a jutsu like that before," Haku thought. Sai gave a calm demeanor as his bear roared beastly at the mirrors. It was a secret of Sai's abilities. His drawing abilities are also the source of his jutsus, and by drawing things with a brush on his scroll he's able to bring his drawings to life. Sai started painting more bears and bringing them to life. By the time he was done, both boys were surrounded by bears created by Sai. "Hopefully this will serve to slow this girl down before Naruto arrives, I hope," Sai thought while wondering what could be delaying the blonde. Sai then gave the order a few of the bears to attack the mirrors. The bears obeyed while the rest stayed behind to protect both boys. Seeing the assaulted, Haku performed her attack as well. The senbon needles now came from every direction, apparently simultaneously. All the while, Naruto was now running from Ryota, who was repeatedly throwing her spike ball at Naruto's direction. Presently Naruto sustained multiple injuries and bruises, but nothing life-threatening, yet. "You can't keep this up, Naruto," Minato said. "You have to put this Iwa Jounin down. It's hard to think while being chased after." Naruto's thoughts were briefly interrupted when the spike ball crashed behind him again with much force, breaking part of the ground he was running on moments ago. The blonde jumped away from the ball before it fired its spikes at him from all directions. He turned and started punching and shattering the spikes, though a few managed to graze him, adding more to his injuries. With a death weapon inches away from you, Naruto mentally concluded before turning and running again. Run as fast as you can, Naruto-kun, Ryota taunted while adding mockery to the kun honorific. It only makes killing you this much more fun. Mockingly, Konoha's second flash. I'm really getting sick of you, Naruto remarked. What do you have against me anyway? It's nothing personal really, Ryota said while continuing to pursue him. I was simply assigned to complete a mission, and you're that mission. I don't suppose dinner and candle lights will suffice, Naruto joked before being sent flying off his feet after the large spinning spike ball came crashing speedily behind him. The blonde skidded and landed face down and replied, "Ugh, was that a no?" "You got jokes, I'll give you that," Ryota replied before retracting her spike ball and readying herself for another attack. "I have an idea," Naruto thought. Acting quickly, Naruto pulled out his second kunao and placed a seal marker on it before getting back up on his feet. Finding a direction to throw his kunao, the blonde threw his kunao into the air and several moments later it was lodged high onto a tree. Perfect, Naruto thought, now all I have to do is. The spinning ball suddenly came crashing into his back, tearing at the blonde with brutal force. Naruto screamed from the sheer agony of being assaulted by the attack as he was sent flying far forward into the forest. He skidded across the unforgiving ground before coming to a complete stop on his badly injured back. A now heavily beaten, wounded, and dirted up Naruto was lying on his back on the ground. He sustained heavy injuries and wounds from the Iwa Jounin's last attack. Ryota, confident that her victory was sure, dispelled her stone chain spike ball and walked over to Naruto. Standing over him, she stepped to his other side before crouching down and looking down at him. "You put up a really good fight," Ryota said, "but a fresh out of the academy genin like yourself can never expect to measure up to my capabilities. And true shinobis aren't arrogant and never let their guard down for whatever reasons, Baka," said a male voice from behind her. She turned her head a little bit in time to hear. "Hidden village of Konoha, hidden Taijutsu Uji." Ryota's eyes widened before her face grimaced upon receiving a butt poke from behind just before. "Senin Goroshi," Naruto yelled out before sending a now screaming Ryota flying high into the air while holding her now very sore rear end. She was about to collide into the top of a high tree when Naruto suddenly shunshined and appeared in front of her and with brute force delivered a brutal swing kick to her side, thus sending her flying through another tree that began to collapse to the ground upon being broken from its base. The Iwa Kunoichi crashed hard into the ground face down before the tree she crashed through landed down on top of her legs. She screamed loudly again upon feeling the weight of the tree as it landed down on her legs, adding more to her injuries and immobilizing her. Needless to say, Ryota was in serious pain not just physically, but also from a severely wounded pride. "You used Kakashi's absurd jutsu to help bring about her defeat," Minato noted. "It was effective, I must admit." "I use what I can," Naruto retorted while he started the process of healing himself. Several minutes earlier, elsewhere in the meantime, Sasuke tried to see when Haku threw the needles, but the mist-nin moved too fast. All Sasuke could see was a blur in front of the mirrors and he felt a new cut. Sasuke started to get desperate as he tried to evade and block the needles with his kunao. "Sumibushin, ink clone," Sai said, creating another clone made out of ink. The ink clone stood in front of the boys before charging at Haku, or what they believed to be her. Amidst the chaos and mist surrounding the dome and the bridge, a kunao came flying into the dome from an opening that was made from Sai's animal painting's earlier attacks and landed down into the ground. Everyone was too busy fighting to notice the kunao that was thrown into the dome. "That should do it," said the Naruto clone hidden inside the mist outside the dome. After seeing how Sai and Sasuke were faring, which was not in their favor, the clone puffed out of existence. Back in the forest, Naruto had finished healing all of his injuries, though parts of his clothes were torn and still stained with his blood and dirt. In spite of this, he was feeling much better, which was more than what could be said of the Iwa Jounin. Going over to her, Naruto stood in front of her and speedily performed a complex series of hand seals. Iro Jutsu, medical technique, Naruto thought as his hands started glowing with waves of blue chakra. Ryota looked up at the blonde who was now standing in front of her with his glowing hands. Before he could do anything to the girl, Naruto was infused with the memory and experience of his now dispelled clone. After a couple of moments, Naruto dispersed the chakra from his hands. "I'll deal with you later," Naruto said to Ryota before he shunshined away from her. The Iwa Jounin was beyond mad, she was pissed off. She, Ryota, the shining stone of Iwagakure no Sato, suffered a disgraceful and humiliating defeat at the hands of the boy who she proclaimed to be nothing more than a fresh out of the academy genin, who left her where she was with the broken down tree lodged down on her legs as though she was yesterday's trash. Turning to the direction to see the Naruto she thought she struck down earlier some distance from her turned out to be a wooden log he used in substitution for himself. The Iwa Jounin then remembered the words of her cage. "The boy may be a genin, but I trust that you won't underestimate him. There have been several rumors about this particular genin, though I do question their authenticity." Though she saw truth in her Tsuchikage's words however, Ryota was in complete denial. She refused to admit to herself that her underestimation of Naruto led her to her own downfall. Her pride wouldn't let her admit the truth to herself. "Naruto," Ryota said angrily while futilely trying to fight back the tears falling down her face with her hands balled tightly into fists, "I'll make you pay dearly for my humiliation." Inside the ice dome, more Senbon needles came flying at the clones before taking them down like the others. Sai sustained a series of cuts and needle stabs on his body and was worn down from running low on chakra after producing too many animal paintings to battle against Haku. Sasuke however wasn't faring too well any better, in fact and he was in worse shape. He was lying motionless on the ground and covered all over from head to toe in Senbon needles and heavily bleeding from his injuries. "Sorry, but I can't allow you two to escape this," Haku said and prepared to launch more needles. But before she could, shurikens came flying towards her. The shurikens pierced the mask of all the mirror images, including the real Haku. Sai and Sasuke blinked as Naruto appeared beside them from seemingly out of nowhere. From what they were seeing, Naruto evidently ran into some trouble of his own since some parts of his clothes were stained with his blood and dirt and torn in some places. Seeing no injuries on him though, they figured that he must have healed himself before arriving. The masked girl landed on her feet on the ground in front of one of the mirrors, and all the images were gone. The only injury the shuriken had given her was a small cut in the forehead, her mask saving her life. Naruto knelt down, picked up his seal-marked kunai his clone threw into the dome earlier and placed it back into its compartment in his pants before he pulled Sasuke's body into his lap. "Sasuke," Naruto said, "hold on, you're not dying today." "And Naruto," Sasuke said weakly opened his eyes, blinking away the pain and weariness he felt. Naruto was shocked to see that instead of the usual black, Sasuke's eyes were red with one comma in his eyes. So he's already awoken his Sharingan, Naruto thought. "Naruto, she's strong," Sasuke gasped, coughing up blood. "Save your strength, just rest for now." "I'll handle this from here," Naruto said while maintaining his calmness in spite of the situation. He pulled out the needles from both Sasuke and Sai, and tossed them away. Going through some hand seals, he gathered his chakra and held his hands over Sasuke. Before Naruto could do anything else for Sasuke, the Uchiha's entire body went limp. "Sasuke?" Naruto asked, concerned. "Sasuke, wake up." "He's dead," said the masked ninja, who had been watching them quietly the entire time. "He's not dead," Naruto countered after checking and finding Sasuke's pulse. Much to his relief, he only lost consciousness. "You question my abilities," she sneered. "I question your motives," Naruto replied as he turned looked up to glare at her. "What are you implying?" Haku shot back. "I'm implying that you had every opportunity to kill my two friends but you didn't," Naruto elaborated. "Clearly Sasuke and Sai were outmatched by you and you could have easily finished them off long before I arrived here but you didn't. None of your Senbon needles struck a vital organ or blood vessel. That's because it's not in you to kill anyone. Am I right, Haku?" The girl had panicked expression under her partly broken mask. "There's no point in trying to lie to me. You're both the girl from the forest and that fake hunter Nin," Naruto said calmly as Haku looked up with part of her mask falling to pieces. "You're Haku." She quietly nodded, admitting the truth as she removed her broken mask from off her face and dropped it on the floor. When I met you there in the forest, you didn't seem to recognize me, Haku said. Naruto replied, I knew who you were the entire time. Plus I smelled you and it was the same scent I recognized when you rescued Zabuza after his first fight with Kakashi Aizen. I can also smell the same herbs you were collecting for Zabuza from off your body. The girl fought back a blush that tried to creep on her face after Naruto revealed that he knew how she smelled like. Regaining her composure, Haku melted into the mirror behind her as she said, no matter. I'm going to finish you three here. The mirror images came back, and before Sai or Naruto knew anything, dozens of needles came flying at them. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto called out and 20 clones appeared and surrounded the three boys before the arrows made contact. Several of the clones puffed out of existences, leaving the other clones and Naruto, Sai, and Sasuke remaining. The clones popping away into clouds of smoke made it difficult to see, both for the boys, but also for Haku. Why can't you see that it is useless? Haku asked. We just don't know when to quit, Naruto retorted, and besides I can't die here. I have a dream to become Hokage and protect my precious people who too seek to live out their dreams as well. I see, so you fight for your dreams as well for the dreams of others. Well, I fight for mine too. My dream of being important to my precious person, for that I'll destroy my heart and kill you three here, Haku said and held up a senbon needle. Destroy your heart? Naruto asked. That's right, to be able to kill for the first time, one must destroy one's heart. To take another's life is the way of the shinobi, Haku said as she noticed Naruto's stable demeanor. I have killed and taken the lives of 4 men during this mission. These being the 2 once proclaimed demon brothers who tried to kill my friends, Zabuza, and I, and 2 low-class samurais who were going to kidnap Tsunami-san and kill her son, Naruto said and looked up at Haku. I risk my life and do what I have to do to protect my family, friends, and those who cannot protect themselves and are in need of my help. I can't do that with a destroyed heart. Naruto started focusing Yondaime's chakra into his legs and the rest of his body a few moments before he held out his right hand as one of his clones went over to him and started shape manipulating a blue ball of chakra into Naruto's hand. Sai watched as Naruto formed an attack that was one of Yondaime's prized creations. It wasn't long until Naruto's clone was done. Holding the fully developed spiral wind ball in his hand, Naruto used Yondaime's chakra to push himself up at insane speed to the ice mirrors and yelled, Raise Non. The sheer force and speed of the attack compounded with Godame-like strength shattered all of the mirrors and blasted a massive hole through the dome itself. Haku, who was totally unprepared for the mighty force of the attack, was sent flying backwards from where she was just before one of Naruto's clones speed dashed and jumped to grab her before she suffered any serious injuries from the attack. Naruto went over to Haku who was being held by one of his clones. From the looks of it, she didn't suffer any life-threatening injuries, just a couple of cuts and bruises. The clone placed Haku back on her feet but he held her from moving any further as she faced Naruto. Raise Non, Sai thought as he quietly looked at Naruto in astonishment. That was a jutsu created by Yondaime himself. When and how did he learn that A-rank attack jutsu? Just who is this Naruto? You held back against me, Haku noted, why didn't you kill me? Why didn't you kill Sai and Sasuke? Because I know for a fact that you don't have what it takes to destroy your heart. So why fight for a bastard like Zabuza? Asked Naruto. Don't talk about my precious person like that, she shot back with a mixed expression of anger and sadness. What's so significant about him that makes you let him dominate your life? You can do so much more with your life. How can you allow yourself to be controlled by that man? Because my life had no meaning, Haku answered with a low voice. What do you mean? Naruto asked. He gave me a purpose to exist, she cried out, tears forming in her eyes. He gave my life a purpose. This purpose being? Naruto inquired. I am a tool, to be used by Zabuza-sama in any way he sees fit. It's what I live for. That's it, Naruto replied with indignation, to be his instrument? Listen to yourself, Haku. You're a human being with emotions and dreams. Why do you allow Zabuza decide your life for you? I had no one, Haku cried and sobbed, I have a bloodline limit. Back where I come from, we with special powers were hated. My mother, who also carried the same bloodline I have, lived with my father hoping that he would never learn what she had. But one day he did learn that my mother and I possessed what was cursed in that land. So he murdered my mother and tried to murder me as well. When I woke, father was dead, killed by me. I was all alone, no one wanted me. I became a homeless orphan, alone on the streets. No cared whether I lived or died. To them I was just street trash to be tossed to the side. Zabuza-sama found me and took me in when everyone else shunned and left me to die. He gave me clothes, food, shelter, and taught me all he knew. There was a moment of silence between Naruto and Haku. The blonde allowed the girl's words to sink into his mind as she continued in a sad tone, Zabuza-sama wanted me for my power, and he wanted me to be a weapon, a tool for him. I was finally wanted in the world. But Zabuza-sama has no use for a weak tool. I no longer have a purpose anymore. Now that you have beaten me, please, tears falling down her face, finish me. Just end my life. Meanwhile outside the dome, Kakashi's kunai plunged into Zabuza's head, spraying forth water. Mizu Bunshin, Kakashi thought. You didn't really think I would be defeated that easily? Fool, Zabuza said and prepared to attack Kakashi again. I have to end this now, Kakashi thought as he hid deeper in the mist before using his kunai to cut his thumb. After cutting his thumb, Kakashi did a series of hand seals and Kuki-yos no jutsu, Kakashi mumbled and several odd lines went out of the scroll and into the ground. Zabuza still was trying to sense what was happening when suddenly the bridge under him exploded and several dogs of varying sizes erupted from the ground and bit onto him. Zabuza couldn't move an inch. If sight and hearing doesn't work, use smell. My dogs went after the smell of my blood on your weapons. Now you won't be able to escape, Kakashi said as electricity started energizing in his left hand. Zabuza, you are pretty well known. You tried to take over the hidden mist, but when you failed and escaped, you started working for scum like Gato to get away from the hunter nins. The man you are trying to kill, Tajuna-san, is important to this whole country. Your ambition sacrifices too many lives of the innocent, Kakashi said, his tone cold and hard. I don't care. As long as I can accomplish my goal, I'm happy, Zabuza replied. You'll die here, Kakashi said coldly, readying his attack to tear into the man. Back inside the dome. A moment later. Even though I beat you, you still have much to live for, Naruto said. Haku sighed and looked down on the ground. Some people do, but I don't have a purpose anymore, Haku said silently. You can find another purpose, Naruto reasoned, you don't have to die here. No one would want me, Haku said lowly, a living weapon with a cursed bloodline that has now have been proven weak. Listen, Haku, Naruto spoke, it's not too late for you. We don't have to fight each other. I remember in the woods. You were so nice then, even knowing I was an enemy. Just, come with me, Kakashi Naizen and the others back to Konoha. I'll see to it personally that you receive the right of forgiveness. You're very good with herbs, so you can become a Konoha medic ninja, and make friends and live a real life with us. We can take care of you, help you build a life again. You can't throw your life away like this. Haku stared at him quietly. If Zabuza don't want you anymore, just because you aren't an invincible tool, then you are better off without him, Naruto said firmly. Haku was silent. Please Haku, it doesn't have to end like this, Naruto pleaded, really seeking to help her. Naruto-kun, Haku began, but then the mist lifted, and their attention turned to Kakashi and Zabuza, who was held in place by a lot of dogs of various sizes. What the? Raikiri, Naruto said when he saw Kakashi's jutsu. They gasped when Kakashi started running towards Zabuza. Zabuza-sama, Haku yelled. Raikiri. Zabuza-sama, Haku screamed as she managed to give the clone a hard backwards headbutt, causing the clone to let go of her before she punched him hard enough to puff him out of existence. She began to do hand signs. Naruto pulled out his seal-marked kunai and ran over to Haku in time to place his kunai into the back of the belt of her garb just before she disappeared. Haku looked forward and saw that Kakashi was charging at the mist nin. Raikiri extended forward. Haku panicked and raced as fast as she could over to Zabuza, standing in front of him ready to take the full brunt of the attack with her arms stretched out to the sides. Kakashi's eyes widened as he saw Higurl appear in front of Zabuza. The Konoha Jounin was unable to stop. Before anyone knew what happened, an explosion occurred, blowing off a large portion of the bridge at its left side. Haku held her eyes shut tightly while expecting excruciating pain to plunge through her, but nothing happened. Sakura and Tajuna looked on as the mist and smoke of the explosion gradually cleared and the bridge eventually stopped shaking. Sai, holding up Sasuke with the Uchiha's right arm over his shoulders, dragged the boy out of what little is of the now useless dome as he and the others looked on to see what happened. What everyone saw next shocked them completely. In front of them was Naruto, standing in front of Haku and Zabuza while tightly holding Kakashi's left wrist away from him and toward the left side of the bridge that was blown off when Naruto deflected and stopped the attack from fatally striking Haku. Kakashi's hand was still coursing with electricity before it gradually died out. He effectively stopped Kakashi-sensei's attack to protect that Hunter Nin and Zabuza, Sakura said in disbelief as she and Tajuna looked on in astonishment, but why would Naruto do that? Naruto, Kakashi asked with a shocked and serious tone, why are you protecting them, knowing that there are enemies? Kakashi eyes and listen to me, Naruto requested as he was about to give his explanation when suddenly. Everyone turned to see that Zabuza's left arm was struck from behind from a surprise attack. The attack wounded his arm and rendered it useless. My oh my! You sure are getting beat up, aren't you Zabuza? A short man in expensive clothes said. Behind him was a literal army of thugs and rather rough-looking men. Ghetto, Zabuza said as he eyed the man and his army of thugs. Oh, there's been a little change in plans. You see, I never intended to pay you, Ghetto said and laughed. What? Zabuza asked angrily. Hiring normal ninjas is expensive, so I hire missing nins like you. Then I dispose of them when they're tired from battle and no longer serve any use for me. No one misses missing nins like you, the demon of the hidden mist, what a joke. You are just a little puppy demon, Gato said and his thugs laughed at the pitiable joke. He planned on double-crossing me the entire time, I should have known, Zabuza realized. Haku, stand down. Kakashi, I'm sorry, but this fight between us is over. I have no reason to fight you anymore. Kakashi nodded as he signaled his dogs to release the Mist Nin. Hey Zabuza, I can beat them for you if you'll let me, Naruto declared. Zabuza, Haku, and Kakashi looked at Naruto. Heh, the boy has spirit. But that doesn't matter. You'll all die here, Gato said. Zabuza growled slightly before he removed the bandages around his mouth. Thanks Naruto, Zabuza said, but I would rather you look after Haku instead. This is something I wish to take care of by myself with no interference. The blonde shinobi looked at Zabuza questionably. Kakashi, can I borrow a kunao? Zabuza asked. Kakashi responded by pulling out a kunao and flipping it towards Zabuza. He caught the kunao in his mouth and ran towards the group of thugs. Gato panicked and ran behind his thugs. Haku called after Zabuza but he didn't respond. Cutting through the group of thugs, Zabuza went after Gato, who turned and just saw a flash and had a kunao embedded in his stomach. Zabuza pushed the kunao deeper into Gato, ignoring the pain he had from the multiple weapons stuck in his back from the thugs. A puppy am I? Well, even a puppy demon can go to hell and become a real devil, which I will be for you. You and me are going to hell together, Zabuza said and pulled out the kunao. He then spun around Gato and severed his head, sending it flying off his body to the floor. As Gato's headless body slumped to the ground, Zabuza glared at the thugs around him. They shivered and backed up. Zabuza began walking back towards Haku, when he lost his strength and fell down to the floor. Kakashi appeared next to Zabuza and grabbed him. They disappeared and reappeared next to Haku and Naruto. Kakashi, Naruto, and Haku pulled out the weapons stuck in Zabuza's body. Gently laying Zabuza down, Kakashi and Naruto stepped back a bit. Thanks Kakashi, Zabuza said. Kakashi replied with a nod. Haku took Zabuza's head and laid it in her lap. She was crying, knowing that he would die soon. Haku, I want you to promise me something, Zabuza said softly. What Zabuza-sama? Haku asked, sniffing slightly. Live. Be a happy girl and live. Find a new purpose, and new precious people. I don't want you to end up like me. I'm just an empty human shell, and I don't want you to suffer my fate, Zabuza said, and Haku nodded. I will try, Zabuza-sama. Zabuza smiled at her. Sai came with the unconscious Sasuke and rested him down by Kakashi and Naruto. Sakura and Tajuna came and hurried over to them. Sakura ran over to Sasuke and knelt down next his motionless body before pulling his body into her lap with tears running down her face. He's alive, Sai said. Naruto examined Sasuke earlier. But I don't know for how long he'll be unconscious. Sakura just nodded while holding onto the Uchiha. Naruto knelt down and examined Zabuza. Naruto said, Zabuza, I can try to he-dash. Save your strength, Naruto, Zabuza told the blonde-haired shinobi. I made this choice. I knew I was going to die when I went after Gato and his thugs. Don't try to help me. I'm not deserving of it. Sighing, Naruto complied before Zabuza turned his head and looked at Kakashi. Kakashi, can I ask you something? Zabuza said and coughed up some blood. Kakashi replied with a nod. Tell me, is it possible for Haku to return to Konoha with you? Zabuza asked. Kakashi's eyes widened, before slightly narrowing. Why do you ask? Kakashi asked, slightly suspicious. I know Konoha is a good place to live. I would like for Haku to live as good as possible, and I know that you and the others can take care of her, and teach her how to be a shinobi and a human with emotions, Zabuza said. Kakashi looked between Haku and Zabuza. Do you want to come with us to Konoha? Kakashi asked the girl. Haku slowly nodded. Naruto-kun already offered me the chance to return with him and the rest of you to Konoha. I would like to accept the offer. All right. Naruto and I can talk to Hokage-sama, and at least get you a citizenship, Kakashi said, and Zabuza smiled before Kakashi turned and looked at the group of thugs. Thanks, Haku, for everything. Live well, Zabuza said as his life left him. When Haku saw he was dead, she cried. So, she will come with us? Sakura asked and Kakashi nodded. Sure, Naruto spoke, she only attacked us because of her mission. No personal feelings involved. She had no actual ill-willed intentions on killing any of us. Good, but if she tries anything, I'll kick her butt, Sakura said. Save it, Sakura, Naruto retorted with an annoyed tone. Emo Sasuke and Sai couldn't beat her. Therefore you'd have lost easily. Sakura didn't reply. Instead she crossed her arms and huffed. But their attention was dragged from the crying Haku to the thugs, when one of the thugs stepped forward. Damn ninjas! You killed our meal ticket. Because of that, we have to kill you and take everything of value that village has, the thug said. The band of thugs started to run forward, when an arrow hit the ground in front of them. Everyone turned and looked at the assembly of villagers. It looked like everyone in the village was gathered there. Inari and Tsunami in front. If you dare take another step towards this village, we will respond with hostility, one of the villagers yelled. Everyone, Tajuna said happily. A hero arrives late, right? Inari asked. Naruto laughed. Well done, Inari. You gathered everyone. The little boy nodded. Well then, I'll help, Naruto said, and Kage Bushin no Jutsu. A lot of Naruto Kage Bunshins came into existence. Kakashi looked at his kid brother before making Kage Bushins of his own, although not the same amount. The sight of the whole village and a lot of ninjas scared he thugs to no end, causing them to run away as fast as they could. Yay, we won, Inari yelled while jumping in the air. Everyone celebrated, except 3 people, these 3 being Haku, Zabuza, and Naruto. Speaking of which, Naruto said, I have some unfinished business to take care of. Kakashi wasn't able to say another word when Naruto ran off from the others. What could Naruto mean by that? Sakura asked. Sai and Kakashi shrugged. When he was out of sight, Naruto shunshined from the scene. Naruto was back up the tree in the forest where he threw its seal-marked Kunao earlier. Hurrying back to the tree he left Ryota he came to see that the Iwa Jounin was long gone. What he found was a note with message addressed directly to him. What you won was a temporary victory. What I suffered was a temporary defeat. I will use what happened here today as a motive to bring about your downfall. We will meet again very soon, and when we do, I'll take your life by whatever means I can. Naruto crumbled the paper before burning it with a small fire jutsu. I'll deal her when she does come after me again, Naruto thought before putting the thought of Ryota to the side. Teleporting back to the top of the tree where his seal-marked kunai was Naruto retrieved it before he shunshined back to Kakashi and the others. Naruto reappeared behind Haku, who was still holding Zabuza's body. No one but Kakashi noticed that Naruto reappeared back among them. Seeing that his other seal-marked kunai was still in Haku's belt, Naruto retrieved and placed it back in its compartment in his pants with his other kunai. A moment later, Kakashi went over to Naruto and asked, "Is everything okay?" "Just fine," Naruto said, "nothing to worry about." Kakashi didn't really buy it, but he chose not to interrogate Naruto about it, at least for now. Sakura and the others then acknowledged Naruto's return before he knelt next to Haku and Zabuza's body. Naruto didn't say or do anything, but apparently his presence helped Haku, since gradually her tears stopped. "We have to bury him," Haku said with a thick and strained voice, "Naruto-kun." "I know," Naruto replied and laid a hand on Haku's shoulder before he continued, "For what it's worth, I'm truly sorry. I hope that in time, you and I can learn to trust each other, and you can learn to trust my friends, like Zabuza wanted. But, no pressure. Take your time." He gave Haku a slight but sad smile, which she slowly and very shakily returned. The next day, the funeral for Zabuza was held. Any injury the group had was healed by Naruto, and the bodies of Geto and his slain thugs were carried off to be burned. Naruto, Team 7, Tajuna, Inari and Tsunami looked at the cross which signified Zabuza's grave. Behind the cross, Zabuza's sword stood. Haku was kneeling in front of the cross, dressed in a black kimono. She had decided to stay in civilian clothing instead of fixing her shinobi outfit. "Zabuza-sama, I will journey to Konoha, and live my life as I wish there," Haku said and bowed to the grave. A week later. It's been 8 days since the attack. The passing days were spent working on the bridge. All the workers came back, and helped. Naruto explained to Kakashi what delayed him from meeting up with him and the other genins during the battle at the bridge. Kakashi laughed perversely when Naruto told him that he used the 1,000 years of pain jutsu on the Iwa Kunoichi. The Konoha Jounin never thought that Naruto had it in him to use that jutsu, on a girl even. Team 7, Naruto and Haku also spent the time getting to know each other. Haku was sad for most of the week, feeling like her only family was gone. Naruto consoled and assured her that she'll make new friends and in time have a new family back in Konoha, though the memory of Zabuza will stay with her and not be forgotten. Haku took some comfort in his words, though she was nervous about how life for her will be like for her in Konoha. 3 days later. The bridge was finished. Kakashi smiled when he looked at it. "Finally we are finished. We now can go back home." "I miss Konoha," Sakura said, and Kakashi nodded. "Thanks to you all the bridge is finished. Though this bridge is completed, it's really sad that you all have to go," Tajuna said. The entire village had shown up to say goodbye to the shinobis who made it possible for them to escape Geto's oppression. They were now at the completed bridge. "Our mission is finished, so we have to return to Konoha," Kakashi said. "Take care," Tsunami said. "We will," Sakura answered. "I'm very sorry for the trouble I have caused all of you. Please accept my most humble apologies," Haku said with a bow. Tajuna nodded in acceptance. "We'll visit someday," Naruto said confidently. "You promise?" Inari asked, on the verge of crying. Naruto nodded with a sad smile and said, "You've grown a lot during these past few days, Inari. You've proven that in spite of troublesome times, you can inspire and protect those precious to you. Kaizo-san would have been as proud of you as I am." Inari ran up and hugged Naruto, who in turn hugged him back. The dark-haired young boy sobbed a little while embracing the blonde who he now looks up to. "Inari," Naruto said, "promise that you'll continue to protect those precious to you." Inari looked at Naruto with a sad smile and a tear-stained face as he nodded. "Are you sad that you're leaving Naruto Naizen?" "It's alright to cry, you know," Inari said. Naruto ruffled Inari's hair before he turned and walked off and said, "Me cry? No way." Sakura, Sasuke, and Sai sweat dropped upon seeing a few tears escape Naruto's eyes. Haku giggled at Naruto's futile attempts to keep those few tears from falling. Kakashi sighed and shook his head slightly at the scene. "You're in denial," Minato sighed. Don't rub it in, Naruto retorted as he continued walking while wiping away his tears. Kakashi and his 3 genins followed after the elite genin as Haku hurried over to walk alongside Naruto. Well, we'll be seeing you later, Kakashi said and turned around to continue on his way with the others. The 6 ninjas walked away, leaving the cheering villagers. That boy changed Inari's heart, and Inari changed the villagers' hearts. That boy gave us a bridge toward hope and courage, Tajuna said, talking about Naruto. That bridge, oh, yeah, we need to name this bridge, one of the villagers said. Tajuna thought about it for a bit when. I have a super perfect name, Inari exclaimed, the Great Naruto Bridge. Tsunami laughed slightly and agreed, that's a good name. It's settled then, Tajuna declared, this bridge will be named the Great Naruto Bridge. All of the villagers cheered again. Chapter 22, Kindred Nins. At a small town. Ryota finished recuperating at a medical inn after escaping from where Naruto left her after her defeat to him. She still refused to admit that she underestimated him. And speaking of him, Naruto's words came back to haunt her. True shinobis aren't arrogant and they never let their guard down for whatever reasons, baka. She slammed her right fist down on the table next to her after recalling how Naruto shoved his 2 index fingers up her ass before painfully launching her into the air before giving her a brutal assault, thus landing her in the situation she was in now. Her pride, though severely wounded, wouldn't allow her to be honest with herself about Naruto's abilities. She concluded to herself that it was just mere luck that he managed to catch her off guard. She wasn't going to let that happen again. She had a mission to complete and she had already made up her mind. She was determined to make Naruto suffer and pay for her disgraceful defeat and humiliation. She made up her mind not to return to Iwagakure until Naruto was defeated or killed, especially after how he butt-poked and rocketed her into the air before brutally sending her into a collision to the ground. Getting off her bed, the IWA Jounin, wearing only her bra and underwear, went over to the full-length mirror to examine her appearance and slender curvy body. Much to her relief, most of her injuries were healed and her body didn't have any permanent scars from her last battle. Recalling her last encounter with Naruto, Ryota wondered why didn't Naruto just finish her off when he had the chance to after he immobilized her. She knew that Iwa and Konoha had an intense hatred towards each other and Konoha nins found in Iwa would have been killed on sight without question. Yet he spared her though he knew she was trying to kill him. What was he trying to prove to her, she wondered, that he had no need to kill her since he was clearly stronger, faster, smarter. Ryota shook the thoughts out her head in frustration. She wasn't going to get a satisfying answer no matter how hard she tried to explain it to herself. Sighing, she went over to her clothes and gear, putting them all back on her before leaving the facility to train outside the town she was temporarily lodging at. Meanwhile, Naruto and the others have just returned back to Konoha. While this was going on, Sasuke was in deep thought as he eyed both Naruto and Haku carefully. He recalled how both he and Sai combined still wasn't enough to take this one girl down, although it was later learned that she had no actual intentions on killing them, just temporarily crippling and immobilizing them. Yet still, Sasuke of the Uchiha clan was taken down by a girl with a feared bloodline limit. No matter what he or Sai did, Haku just kept coming. Then Naruto, from out of nowhere, made the appearance and single-handedly brought about Haku's defeat with a single attack, an attack that Sai told him was created by Yondaime Hokage himself. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at Naruto and also at Haku, who was presently walking alongside the blonde. The Uchiha didn't like the fact that even with his awakened Sharingan it wasn't enough to beat her. Sasuke then remembered Naruto's words at the academy a little more than a year ago. Yondaime is the Hokage I plan to surpass, in just about everything. The raven-haired Uchiha snarled at how Naruto was working hard toward his goals and making the gradual progress towards them. I need more power, Sasuke thought. I have to work and train harder if I'm to become stronger than Naruto. I must in order to kill my brother. Sasuke-kun. The Uchiha youth turned to the pink-haired genin who called out his name. What is it? Are you okay? Sakura asked. I saw that you were thinking hard about something and you haven't said a word for a long while. I'm fine, Sasuke replied plainly, I don't need your concern. Sakura felt dejected that Sasuke once again brushed her off. Haku entered the Konoha gates nervously with Naruto and the others, not knowing how the others will react to her. Seeing Haku's situation, Naruto went over to her and assured, "There's nothing to worry about, Haku-san. I'm sure everyone will take a liking to you with very little trouble." Naruto, Kakashi, and Team 7 with Haku went to see Tsunade in her office. They also found Hiruzen there as well, along with Shizen. One by one, Naruto and the others explained the events as they saw them take place. Naruto also brought up the issue about the Iwa Jounin Kunoichi who tried to kill him twice. Hiruzen and Tsunade's ears perked up on hearing this. They both suspected that it was a matter of time until Iwagakure tried something like this. Naruto explained that he doesn't exactly know what Iwa is planning, since the Kunoichi they sent after him was under orders to bring him back by whatever means possible. He told them though that he handled the Kunoichi who came after him, although she managed to escape from him. After the debriefing of the events that took place, Tsunade requested her son, Kakashi, and Haku to remain in the office in consideration to important issues regarding the Nami no Kuni mission. The other 3 genins were dismissed from the meeting. "Why can't we stay?" asked Sasuke as he suspected that he was being left out of something important. "Why am I not incorporated in this meeting?" "It regards the relocation of Haku," Tsunade answered authoritatively. "It's a matter that doesn't require your concern or input." Sasuke scowled before walking out of the room, all the while doing the usual brooding on how to get stronger. Sakura was right behind him, followed by Sai as he went about his own business after leaving the office with the other genins. "Now as it stands," said the Godame leaning back in her chair, "Haku possesses a bloodline limit that's near extinction and she's the only one of her family left with this bloodline limit. And presently she doesn't have a place to stay." Tsunade remained quiet momentarily as she contemplated on Haku's situation. A moment later she spoke, "From what I've examined from my son's testimony and your reports, Kakashi, Haku's also highly knowledgeable with the human anatomy and is very skilled in medical jutsus and herbs. Alongside this, her combat capabilities are between the levels of High Chunin and Jounin. She can be most useful as a medic nin and Shizun's assistant." "That would be nice really," Shizun smiled. "I could use the extra help." "That's great," Naruto said, "but unfortunately that still doesn't answer the question of where Haku-san can stay." "I'm sorry that I don't have a solution at this time, Naru-chan," Tsunade retorted, "but I can't just place Haku anywhere in this village, and because she has a bloodline limit that's new to this village, which means more paperwork for me to do before I can fully initiate her as a full Konoha civilian. Plus I'll have to call together all of the other clan leaders and village elders to inform them that we have a new girl with a bloodline limit." Naruto gave Haku a concerned look that did not go unnoticed by the either Hokages. "Honestly," Tsunade continued, "I wouldn't suggest allowing her to stay at any of the others' clans' estates here in this village, seeing that the clan elders will most likely use her to breed her bloodline limit into their clan to further advance theirs by making a new form of bloodline limit. Therefore," Hiruzen added, "staying at the Hyuga clan is out of the question. She definitely can't stay at the Uchiha district either, though Sasuke is the only one left of his clan like Haku." "I wouldn't worry about Sasuke," Naruto assured. "He has no interest in Haku in that way, and he's angry at the fact that Haku beat him. Plus I highly doubt that when he's older he'd want marry her and mix his bloodline limit with hers anyway." "In any case," Tsunade interjected, "I will see what I can do to accommodate Haku. In the meantime, Naru-chan, you can show Haku around Konoha so she can know the layout of the village that is now her new home. Welcome to Konohagakure no Sato, Haku-san." "Arigato, Godame-sama," Haku thanked as she bowed in respects. "Come on Haku-san," Naruto said, "let me give you a tour around the village that I'll become Hokage to one day." The girl giggled as she followed Naruto as they exited the office. 30 minutes later, elsewhere. Sai was at office other of an older man who had bandages around 2/3 of his face and over his right eye. He had a scar under his chin in the form of an X. "Danzo-sama," Sai greeted. Indeed, the man was Danzo, a man who's more militant than most in Konoha, favoring aggression and moreover passiveness and peace. In the past, he competed with Hiruzen for the position of Yondaime Hokage. He created the, now disbanded, Umbu training department known as Root and acted as its head. Danzo was the one who recommended that Sai be placed on Team 7 alongside Sasuke and Sakura after he learned that Naruto wasn't to be placed on Team 7. He appears to have lost an arm at some point, the cause of which remains unknown. "Sai," Danzo spoke, "you've returned." Sai nodded before Danzo continued, "What's your report about the mission?" Sai gave Danzo a detailed recount about all that happened during their journey to Nami no Kuni, to the enemies they came across, to their battle with Zabuza and Haku. What caught Danzo's ears was when Sai told him that Naruto used a jutsu that was created by the Yondaime. "I see," Danzo said, "he used the very jutsu that took the Yondaime quite some time to create and master." "I remember you telling me about it, Danzo-sama," Sai said, "but what I don't know is how Naruto was able to learn that jutsu." There was no mention of anyone in Konoha beside the Yondaime knowing how to perform that jutsu. "There is a lot more to that boy than you know, Sai," Danzo retorted. "He has a power within him that many would kill to have and control." Sai was silent for a moment, then said, "He's been excellently trained by his mother, Anko-san, and perhaps another person or more. His styles of fighting and medic jutsus are testimonies to these truths. I've witnessed this firsthand. Naruto's abilities are far past those of any genin, Chunin, or Jounin. They are in fact. Years ago I argued with the Sarutobi to allow me to take Naruto under my wings. I told him that the boy has potentials for greatness that would allow Konoha to produce greatest shinobi to exist since the Yondaime. But that old fool wouldn't budge and denied me on every occasion I sought to have Naruto as my apprentice. He kept giving me talk about Naruto needing balance in his life." Sai then replied, "Though you don't agree with Hiruzen-sama's ideals, however, I've personally seen that Naruto is indeed strong in many respects and has untapped potentials. The same can be said of you in some ways, my young apprentice, which was why I trained you in Naruto's place for a while before suggesting to the Godame that you be assigned to Team 7. Though your jutsus and fighting abilities have yet to reach their peak, Naruto however is in a class of his own. It's also the reason why IWA is after him and why he was able to beat Haku single-handedly. Sasuke wasn't too great a challenge to her, and I had to buy Naruto some time before he arrived and stopped Haku. And now that same girl is at the Hokage office and is going to be made a citizen of Konoha. She must really be something if she was able to give you problems. Her bloodline limit, which allows her to perform deadly water and ice manipulations very effectively, is truly strong," Sai said. "My jutsus can only do so much against a kunoichi with such a bloodline limit, and being surrounded by water only adds to the problem." But still it wasn't enough to take down Naruto, and she knew that he was holding back when he could have clearly killed her with that one attack. "That boy sees potentials in that girl," Danzo commented. "I have to admit that he has good judgment in seeing qualities and attributes worth strengthening. Having Haku joining up with Konoha can serve to increase our strength immensely, especially if she bears children with her bloodline limit." "Should that prove to be so," Sai remarked, "they'd make excellent shinobis." "Yes indeed," Danzo agreed, "especially if they were to be under my tutelage." "You think the council would approve?" Sai asked. "Prospects would be slim," Danzo replied, "especially if that old fool Sarutobi and his former student Tsunade have a say in it. But we won't worry about that. For now, Sai, continue your training and keep an eye on Sasuke." Sai wordlessly nodded. Another 30 minutes later. Naruto and Haku were walking through the village as he gave her the tour around Konoha. While doing this, he was also looking for familiar and friendly faces that they could hang out with to help Haku make new friends. As the pair continued walking to get to another part of the village, they soon heard the sound of small footsteps and the scraping of cardboard behind them, meaning, "Come out, Konohamaru. I know you're in that box," said Naruto as he turned around with his hands in his pants pocket waiting for the younger boy to come out of hiding. Seconds later the square rock with eye holes in it stopped moving and exploded, sending smoke everywhere. The sounds of multiple coughs were heard, causing the blonde to acknowledge that Konohamaru wasn't the only one in the square box. "I think we used too much gunpowder," said a young male voice from within the box that Naruto identified was anyone else but Konohamaru. Naruto waited patiently for Konohamaru while Haku stood next to the blonde, curiously wondering what was going on next. "Your ability of seeing through our disguise is amazing. I really admire and respect you as my rival," said Konohamaru as he leaped from the box. The smoke cleared to reveal goggle-wearing kids, 2 boys and 1 girl. They looked up at Naruto before going into a weird pose. "I'm Mogi, the feistiest kunoichi in school. I enjoy doing algebra. My name is Udon. And I'm the toughest shinobi in the village. My name is Konohamaru. And we are the Konohamaru Ninja Corps, The 3 8-year-olds chorused. Hey Kano Amaru, it's been a while since I last saw you, said Naruto while smiling at the kids in front of him. Yeah boss, it has. You promised you would play ninja with us when you had the opportunity to, remember, said Kano Amaru pointing to his friends and then Naruto. What kind of ninja plays ninja? Asked a less than impressed Sakura as she made her presence known to them as she entered the scene. Sakura, Naruto replied, cut them some slack. They're children after all. Hey boss, who is she? Is she your, said Kano Amaru with a particular grin on his face. By this point, Sakura was shocked that the boy made such a declaration. Naruto saw the look in Sakura's eyes that said that she wanted to tell the young boy off. Her name is Sakura, Naruto replied calmly, and no, she's not what you thought she is to me. And where did you get an idea like that anyway, Kano Amaru? Asked a new voice that entered the scene. Everyone turned to see Sai entering among them. Sai, Naruto greeted, when did you show up? I was walking around when I overheard your conversation with the 3 kids here, Sai replied. I'm surprised though that the boy would assume that someone of your stature would consider a Sasuke-obsessed fangirl like Sakura as your girlfriend. I'm certain that she just returned from having Sasuke reject her after asking him for a date, again. Naruto felt a wave of bloodlust coming from Sakura. I guess what Sai said is true, Naruto mentally noted. Sai continued, I'm sure that Naruto must be less than flattered by the thought of Sakura being his girlfriend. Shut up, Sakura yelled at Sai before he quieted. Trying to cease the tension, Naruto cut in, hey Kano Amaru, I never got to introduce my new friend to you. Gesturing to the girl next to him, this is Haku-san, she's new here in Konoha and she's going to be a new citizen of Konoha. It's a pleasure to meet you Kano Amaru, Mogi and Udon, Haku greeted. Your boss's new female friend, Kano Amaru asked. Naruto answered, yes, she is, along with the few real female friends I have. I'll introduce them to you later Haku-san. Haku nodded and smiled. Hey Kano Amaru, Sai asked, why would you assume that Sakura was Naruto's girlfriend? Because boss always has girls and Kunio-kais hanging and chasing after him. Once a few of them even invited him to hang with them in the women's bathhouse, Kano Amaru answered, causing the blonde to blush heavily while Haku and Sakura looked at Naruto questionably. This kid is too observant, Naruto thought before he said, I didn't accept their offer to go to the bathhouse with them, and most of those girls are fangirls really Kano Amaru. You might not have accepted their offer, but that doesn't mean that you never sneaked into the women's bathhouse before, Minato teased. That was different, Naruto mentally retorted, I did that to pass that test Anko-chan gave me against Ero-jisan. Besides, Naruto has too much class to be dating a girl like Sakura anyway, Sai stated. Naruto looked and saw anger building up in Sakura as Sai continued, I mean look at her, no sense of fashion, pink hair. How fake is that? Not to mention that massive forehead of hers. I can practically paint the entire Hokage monument across her forehead effortlessly. The next thing Naruto and the others saw was Sai's face to the ground with a throbbing lump on his head as Sakura stomped off away from them before pushing Naruto away from her, though she knew that the blonde-haired shinobi did nothing to provoke her reaction to him. Hey, Kano Amaru yelled angrily, you can't treat boss like that you hag. Oh boy, Naruto's sweat dropped as Kano Amaru was smacked down to the ground by Sakura before she stomped off again. Sai and Kano Amaru were getting back off ground when Kano Amaru added his 2 cents, I see your point Sai-san. Is flat chest even a real female on top of that? Sakura, who was in hearing range, stopped upon hearing that. Those two really have a death wish, Naruto sighed as he watched Sai and the 3 kids run from the raging Sakura. Sai somehow slipped away and vanished from Sakura's sight, leaving Kano Amaru and his 2 friends at Sakura's mercy. Not taking the chance with Sakura, Naruto went after them to stop her from doing anything rash. From where Naruto was seeing, Kano Amaru was in the lead, with Mogi and Udon following close by as the last one. Kano Amaru turned the corner and bumped into someone who was now lifting him up into the air. You little brat, yelled the older male, lifting Kano Amaru off the ground. Kano Amaru opened his eyes to find he was being held up by the collar of his shirt by a person he didn't recognize. The figure was dressed in what looked like a black catsuit with purple paintings on his face and a large puppet being carried on his back. Put me down, Kano Amaru commanded, let me go. The boy struggled in order to get free from his abductor. You brat. You're the one who bumped into me. I ought to make you pay for that, said the older figure as he readied to hit the kid. Sakura turned around the corner to find out what the situation was. Put the boy down. Now, Naruto commanded as he entered the scene with Haku following close by while maintaining alertness should there be more trouble. Who are you? The older figure asked. The mediator of this ordeal, Naruto replied, and the boy you're holding against his will is the grandson of the former Yondaime Hokage. I advise you to release the boy from your grasp. Refusal will result in immediate consequences for you. Your head protectors. They indicate you're from Tsunagaku or no Sato, yes, asked Sakura as she recognized the symbols on their shinobi headbands from what Iruka taught them during their time in the academy. They do, and we're here for the Chunin exams, but what's it matter to you, said the older blonde girl of the group who was carrying a large fan on her back. It matters considering that you're foreigners, and if your friend does not let go of Kano Amaru, he'll have to deal with an angry former Hokage, the boy's grandfather, warned Naruto with no sign of humor in his voice. Reluctantly, the older boy lowered the child before releasing the boy. Kano Amaru ran over to Naruto and hid behind him. Who are you? Naruto asked. I'm Sabaku no Tamari, the older girl replied with a touch of haughtiness in her voice. I'm her brother, Sabaku no Kankuro, replied the older boy, and whom might you be? Senju Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto replied, son of Yondaime Hokage. Really? Kankuro retorted, well, it doesn't change the fact that you're still a shrimp in size compared to us. This coming from someone who enjoys parading in public wearing black cat pajamas while wearing his sister's makeup and playing with life-size dolls, Naruto mocked. By this time, Kankuro was fuming while Tamari was cracking up. Why you dash? Kankuro was cut off when a pebble was thrown and hit him on the head. Tamari, Kankuro, and Naruto looked to see who the culprit was. It was a red-haired boy Naruto's age standing on top of a tree branch with a large gourd being carried on his back with a red kanji for love tattooed on his forehead. Gaara, Kankuro said a bit fearfully. Kankuro, Gaara replied dryly, you're a disgrace to our village. They started it, Kankuro replied. Shut up or I'll kill you, Gaara said coldly while looking at Kankuro, who cringed on hearing that. Tamari was just as fearful as she hoped that Gaara wouldn't hold true to his words and turn on her as well. The red-haired boy looked at Naruto and said, I'm Sabaku no Gaara. Naruto felt a weird vibe circulate through his being upon seeing Gaara. He was sensing a form of chakra that was anything but human. That chakra, Naruto thought quietly. That boy is a Jinhuriki like you kid, Kuwabai said, I can sense that raccoon dog's chakra anywhere. A raccoon dog? Naruto questioned. That red-haired boy contains Shukaku, the one-tailed raccoon dog, Tanuki, Kuwabai explained, though Shukaku is the weakest of us 9 Baijus, I advise you not to underestimate him. And that boy is leaking Skeikaku's stench like a fragrance, which was why you were able to detect a little bit of that Baijuyu's chakra. Just the look in that boy's eyes tells me a whole lot about his sanity and bloodlust. Shukaku was never known for his mental stability. And judging from that boy's eye condition, I can see that he's also an insomniac. Clearly a result of a sealing gone wrong, Yondaime added. Gaara and Naruto wordlessly looked at each other tensely when Kano Amaru and the others looked at the two boys questionably. I know there is something different about you, Gaara, I sense you are like me, Naruto said after a period of silence. Though Gaara didn't show it facially, he was surprised by Naruto's words. Tamari and Kankuro were edgy about what Naruto said and wondered if he knew Gaara's dark secret. Boss, what are you talking about and how is that guy like you? Said Kano Amaru as he looked from between Naruto and Gaara with a confused expression. Kano Amaru, Naruto said with a serious tone with no humor in his voice, I want you to leave and take Mogi and Udon away from here as this is an issue far beyond your understanding. Got it. Alright boss, whatever you say, said Kano Amaru as he took his two friends away from the area. Naruto pulled out his seal-marked kunai and handed it over to Haku. Hold on to this for me, will you? Naruto said. Haku nodded as she took the kunai and placed it into her belt. Sakura, Naruto said with the same demeanor, I would like to have a moment of privacy with the Sunanins. Please be kind as to leave us alone at this time and take Haku-san with you. Show her around the village and introduce her to Ino-chan, Hina-chan, and the other genins if you see them. I'll meet up with you both later. What? Sakura argued. Listen Naruto, whatever it is you have to say I'm sure I can dash. Naruto turned and gave Sakura a hard authoritative look that showed that he was not in the mood to be argued with. The vibe he gave off with that look sent a cold chill down the pink-haired Kunoichi's back, so much so that Haku felt it herself. Sakura knew that Naruto could be goofy here and there, but at this time she knew not to take Naruto lightly, especially knowing what he's capable of when he's angry. Complying, she took Haku by the hand and escorted her away from the scene. After being left alone with the Sunanins, Naruto turned his attention back to Gaara as he watched him jump from the tree branch and down to the ground. The blonde shinobi now wondered how to approach this issue considering that the red-haired Sunanin was noticeably unstable as Kyuubi noted. I like for you three to come with me as what I wish to speak with you all about isn't something I want others to hear, Naruto invited. Gaara simply nodded as he followed Naruto to where he was going. Kankuro and Temari, though confused by Gaara's actions, followed along to where the two boys were going. After a while, the four of them found themselves at a deserted training ground with no one else in sight or in hearing range. The blonde shinobi made sure that they were the only ones in the area before starting the conversation. Gaara, Naruto started as he looked straight at Gaara, your seal that binds Kyukaku within you, I wish to see it. Those words shocked and stunned even Gaara, along with Temari and Kankuro who were now looking at the blonde boy worriedly. They couldn't understand how Naruto knew that Gaara was the carrier of Shukaku. Gaara, not one to just do as anyone tells him to do, asked, how do you know that I contain Shukaku? I have heightened senses and I can sense that Baijuyo's particular chakra from off your body, Naruto answered. This Kaki can detect Baiju's, Temari thought in shock and a bit fearfully, who the hell is he? This can be trouble, Kankuro thought as he looked at Naruto cautiously, this Naruto guy is clearly more than he appears to be. The plan can be ruined if Naruto. Though I'm surprised that you know of what Baijuyu I carry however, Gaara spoke unknowingly cutting off Kankuro's train of thoughts, for what purpose should I show you my seal? I wish to examine it if you will, Naruto replied, and as I said earlier, you're like me, I'm also a Jinhuriki. Gaara's eyes widened on hearing that, there was someone else like him who was forced to burden the curse of being a Jinhuriki from birth without his consent. There was someone else who could understand his pain, his sorrow, his hardship, and loneliness. Yet, Gaara thought as he looked at Naruto, he doesn't look like he's suffering from madness or harassment from his Baijuyu. What's his secret? Tell me, Gaara said, which Baijuyu do you contain? Kyuubi no Yoko, Naruto answered straightforwardly. That revelation shocked the Sunanins to no end. From what they've been told, Kyuubi was destroyed years ago in his fight with Yondaime Hokage. No one has seen the great fox since. You lie, Kankuro remarked loudly, Kyuubi was defeated and killed by your Yondaime over 13 years ago. No Baijus can be killed by mortals, Naruto corrected, they can only be sealed away by the use of Funkinjutsu Ujus, forbidden master sealing techniques. Yondaime Hokage did this with me at the cost of his life. To prove his point, Naruto removed his black fingerless glove from off his right hand and focused chakra into his right hand enough to reveal the seal that contained the Kyuubi, which started glowing red. Needless to say, the Sunanins were shocked by this. This is a very dark secret, Naruto explained, that neither Sandaime-sama, nor my mother, or the village council revealed to the villagers, especially since I have a lot of enemies after me. I trust that you three won't reveal this secret to anyone, just as I won't reveal yours to just anyone. Naruto dispelled the chakra flow from his hand, causing the seal to vanish back into his hand before placing his black glove back on. I showed you my seal and shared my darkest secret with you, Naruto said, honor me please in showing me your seal Gaara. Nodding, Gaara raised his shirt and showed Naruto the seal that contained Shukaku. Naruto went over to Gaara and carefully looked the seal over. As I suspected, Minato said as he examined the seal through Naruto's eyes, that seal is unquestionably flawed. Whoever did the sealing did a terrible unprofessional job at it. The person who performed the sealing was not a true seal master. Is there a way to fix it? Naruto inquired. It'll take some time, Minato said, but I can guide you through it. Though that seal is terribly flawed however, it can be repaired and made to work more effectively. Having a Hokage-level Seal Master sealed inside me has its many advantages, Naruto thought. Evidently, we'll have to get Sandaime-sama to assist us in doing this since he'll be able to gather the required essentials for seals repairs. Though Jiraiya-sensei is a preferred option when it comes to seals, however, he's obviously away looking into what he can gather about the Akatsuki. Naruto mentally nodded before he stood back up again. Gaara placed his shirt back down as he faced Naruto. That seal was poorly designed, Naruto informed. That person who sealed Shukaku into you was not a true seal master. And from the condition of your eyes, it's clear that you're an insomniac, yes. Gaara stayed quiet as he nodded. A moment later Gaara spoke, I see that you don't look to be suffering from harassment from your Baijuya. Tell me, what's your secret? Yondaime Hokage was an expert seal master, Naruto explained, the very best in our village in his days. However, after I turned 8 years old, Kyuubi woke up from his long slumber and gave me a great deal of grief, pain, and misery. Like you Gaara, I had many sleepless nights and horrific nightmares. I had to do everything in my power to hold on to my sanity. After some time though, the seal kicked in and effectively allowed me to suppress Kyuubi's bloodlusting torments. Gaara had an emotionless expression as he listened to Naruto's words. This kid is really something, Temari thought as she looked at Naruto, wondering whether or not to believe what she was seeing with her eyes. I never met anyone who was able to hold a conversation with Gaara without having their lives threatened or just killed on the spot. Naruto is like Gaara, Kankuro thought, except Naruto isn't being used as a weapon much to my surprise. Gaara's seal was designed deficiently, making him incapable of sleeping at night. Because of this, it turned him into an insomniac psychopath, whose only method of deadening Shukaku is by killing people around him. Though your seal was poorly designed, however, Naruto continued, I may be able to fix it. Gaara's head shot up on hearing that as he looked at Naruto skeptically. How can that be so? Are you a seal master? Not yet officially, Naruto admitted, however, I have both the knowledge and expertise of a true seal master. The irony, Minato remarked. I won't lie to you Gaara, Naruto said, fixing that seal will be no easy task and it will take some time, but it can be done. Gaara was quiet as he contemplated on what Naruto was offering to him. Meanwhile Temari and Kankuro looked between Naruto and Gaara wondering what they should do next. I would like for you, Temari and Kankuro, to meet me at the Hokage office tomorrow afternoon to discuss with my mother and Hiruzen-sama the former Sandaime-sama what I have in mind in repairing that seal of yours, Naruto said. Hiruzen-sama can help set it up. That is if you are willing to accept my offer. Gaara remained silent as he considered and pondered on everything he was being told. A moment later. I accept, Gaara replied, I will meet you at the Hokage Tower tomorrow. Temari and Kankuro will accompany me there as well. Naruto nodded, excellent. I'll leave now to discuss and have everything arranged with the Hokages. With that said, Naruto shunshined from the scene, leaving the Sunanins to their thoughts. I don't like this, Temari spoke up after a long period of silence. This could be a trap or a setup. Are you sure you want to go through with this Gaara? I'm certain Temari, Gaara replied dryly. This Naruto character has a Baijuyu inside of him and he trusted us enough to share his secret with us even though he wasn't obligated to do so. Though he's a fellow Jinhuriki, he's different and I owe him the benefit of the doubt. What do you suppose Baki-sensei and father would say about this? Kankuro interjected. I doubt they'll approve of your decision considering the alliance we have with Otagaku or Nosato. Gaara looked at his siblings with a cold and hard expression, causing Temari and Kankuro to cower and take a few steps back away from him. Our father is a foolish Kazekage, said Gaara angrily as his sand started coming out of his gourd and hovering over him and seemingly over to his older siblings. I don't want to hear of him unless it's necessary. Understand? Why yes Gaara, Kankuro gulped as both he and Temari nodded fearfully before Gaara forced the sand back into the gourd and popped the cork over the mouth, closing it. We will return later to inform Baki-sensei about what Naruto is offering me. Seeing how what he told me sounded most appealing to me, Gaara stated, I would like to be able to sleep for once without worrying about Shukaku waking up and seeking to take over my mind and body. Gaara turned and started walking off with Temari and Kankuro following from a short distance behind him. After few minutes, Gaara stopped again with his back facing the two older Sunanins. Temari, Kankuro, Gaara said instantly grabbing their attention, Do not participate in this foolish invasion Suna is planning with Oto. The older Suna nins were caught off guard by this. Neither nins wanted to risk the wrath of their Kazekage, but at the same time, they didn't want to risk Gaara's, whose wrath always ended with a deadly finality. What? Kankuro retorted, and why not? Let's get something straight right now, Gaara said. Should Naruto successfully fulfill his promise to repair my seal and make it more effective in containing Shukaku, as payment I will tell him and the Hokage everything about the invasion Suna is planning to do with Oto against Konoha. And should the invasion take place regardless, I will fight alongside Naruto against Suna and Oto. Kankuro and Tamari's faces turned pale on hearing that. The thought of Tujin Hirikis fighting against them was rather terrifying. Though Gaara was a deadly force to be reckoned with, however, the fact that Naruto appeared to be in control of his own Byakuya that was none other than Kyuubi made him more dangerous, the Suna nins realized. Later at the Hokage Tower. Are you sure about this? Said Hiruzen after both he and Tsunade heard what Naruto had explained to them about his encounter with the Suna nins. Unquestionably, Naruto said with his arms crossed over his chest facing the Tsunade and Hiruzen, I arranged a meeting with Gaara and his siblings to meet us here tomorrow afternoon. I told him that I can fix his seal and make it more effective. Naruto, Tsunade spoke up seriously, how could make such a promise when you yourself are not a seal master? After giving it some deep consideration, Naruto began to explain, I figured that by using the ancient Shiki Fujin, dead demon consuming seal, Naruto, Hiruzen, and Tsunade yelled fearfully in full alertness as Tsunade stood up from her seat almost instantly. Hiruzen said, that particular seal? I don't intend on summoning the Shinigami if that's what you both are thinking, Naruto assured. What I was going to say was that I can study and use the ancient Shiki Fujin seal design my father originally found, along with the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal to make the needed repairs to Gaara's seal. In theory I should be able to make his seal as strong as possible. If I recall, my father was an expert at sealing and a true seal master. And he specifically told me that he can guide me through the process in repairing the seal. Plus, seals were among the things Erojisan and father taught me. Hiruzen contemplated as he took another intake of his pipe. I'm not as skilled with seals as my former pupil Jiraiya or Yondaime are, but I can gather all of the need materials for the procedure. I can help have everything set up by tomorrow. Naruto nodded. I will need access to the Forbidden Scroll that has the Shiki Fujin, the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal written in it. Will it be possible for you to retrieve that scroll for me later today? Hiruzen nodded. If you were an ordinary genin, granting such a request would have been out of the question. But as it stands, you're not an ordinary genin. I'll personally deliver the scroll to you later today, as that Kinjutsu Oji, Forbidden Master Technique, is a most deadly jutsu I can't just entrust to anyone. Thanks Jisan, Naruto said before turning to his mother. By the way, Kaa-chan, were you able to place Haku-san with someone? Tsunade threw a pair of keys in an envelope to Naruto. After catching them, Naruto asked, what are these for? I wasn't able to place her with any family in the village, Tsunade said, however I was able to attain a small apartment to accommodate her. It's really the best I can do under short notice. I still will have to hold a meeting with the council to inform them about Haku. What you have in your hands are the keys to her apartment, and that envelope has the address written in it. Be sure to give them to her as you escort her to her new home. This is your D-rank mission for the day. Naruto nodded before he turned and exited the office with the 2 items. After he left, Tsunade opened the desk drawer and pulled out a bottle of sake in a small cup. I need a drink, Tsunade sighed while pouring some of the alcoholic contents into the cup. That kid is too much. Just like his father, Hiruzen smiled before making his way out of the office. Naruto will accomplish great things. Meanwhile, Anko was making her way to the dango shop. Her eyes soon fell upon a familiar blonde running down the block from the opposite direction. Naruto was too occupied to notice that a kunai was thrown straight at him. Realizing this at the last second, Naruto barely evaded the weapon which grazed his face before it was impaled into a wooden light pole. Anko appeared and wrapped her arms around Naruto from behind as she brought her face over to his. Yondaime Hokage, Anko said cheerfully between the times she started licking the side of his face she cut. You shouldn't let your guard down like that, otherwise you'll become a tasty treat for me. Naruto had a most annoyed expression on his face while feeling Anko's tongue lash against his face. This was not the first time she pulled this stunt. She'd do this occasionally when she managed to catch him off his guard. The older woman held Naruto's arms to his sides to keep him from moving them. Naruto knew he could have easily thrown her off him, but he didn't want her to see just how strong he really was, at least for now. "When did you return?" Anko asked. "This morning, Anko-chan," Naruto answered. "Your mission was a success, I trust," Anko said as she shamelessly continued licking the little bit of blood from off his face. "It was," Naruto said. "In fact, I got the chance to put some of your teachings to practice on 2 enemy ninjas." Anko gave a small sinister grin when she heard that. "Good boy," Anko replied as she gave his face another lick, "only slower. You truly are an elite genin, Yondaime Hokage." "Look, I appreciate the attention as twisted as it is, Anko-chan, but I really must be on my way," Naruto said. "I have important things to do and a few people to meet up with." Anko bumped him on the head on hearing that before she released her hold on him. "And I suppose I wasn't one of those important people," Anko retorted. "If anything, I'm one of the first people you should have went to see after your return." "You are, in fact. I'm standing in front of you, aren't I?" Naruto shot back while rubbing his head. "I just came from Kaa-chan's office and I have to deliver a few things to a new friend of mine who's new here." "A new friend, you say?" Anko said as she placed her arm around and over his shoulders before pulling him close to her. "Why don't you tell me all about it as we head over to the dango shop? While we're there, I can tell you about the Chunin exams I'll enter you in after you give me the juicy details on the ninjas you took out during your mission through the training of yours truly." Naruto sighed again as he went with Anko to the dango shop after she retrieved her kunao from the wooden light pole. Later on that afternoon, elsewhere, Sakura was showing Haku around the village. Thus far Sakura has been telling her about all the great places she could to for some fun, like the clothes stores, the bathhouse, and etc. While they were walking around, there was a common thought they had in mind. What was it that Naruto wanted to discuss with the Sunanins that was so confidential that he dismissed the both of them? "Sakura-san," Haku asked. "HN. What do you suppose Naruto-kun wanted to speak with the Sunanins in private about?" Haku inquired. "My guess is as good as yours," Sakura replied. Just then Sakura saw Hinata, Shino, and Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji and Ino coming their way. "Hey you guys," Sakura greeted as she hurried over to them with Haku following close by. "Hey forward girl," Ino greeted, "back from your mission I see." "Yes Ino pig," Sakura scowled, "and let me be the first to say that it was really an A-rank mission." "You're lying," Ino retorted in disbelief, "we're only genins." "You and your team were given an A-rank mission before any of us," Shikamaru asked lazily. "Well, better you than me. Those missions are so troublesome." "It's true that our mission turned out to be an actual A-rank mission," Sakura said with a large grin on her face. "My new friend here can testify to that." "And speaking of new friends," Kiba said as he dashed over to Haku and stood next to her closer than he should have, "I'm Inyazuka Kiba." "What's your name, good looking?" Giggling, Haku said, "I'm Haku and I'm new here in Konoha." "You are?" Ino asked. "Are you living here with your folks?" Haku's smile seemed to have disappeared from her face as a sad look partially appeared on her face. "Leave it to Ino pig to ruin the mood," Sakura said sourly. "Don't blame her Sakura-san," Haku interjected trying to restore the happy atmosphere. "I'm sorry if I've offended," Ino said sincerely, "I didn't mean to dash." "It's not your fault," Haku assured, "you didn't know." "No, I don't have any relatives or a place to stay really. But Naruto-kun offered me the chance to live here, meet and make friends with you all." "You met Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked. "I did," Haku said, "back at Nami no Kuni. And judging from your eyes and features, you must be Hyuga Hinata. And the blonde girl with the blue pupil-less eyes is clearly Yamanaka Ino." Hinata and Ino were surprised by this. Of course, many in Konoha knew who they were, but they weren't expecting a total stranger to know who they were. "Don't be so surprised," Haku continued, "Naruto-kun and Sakura-san told me all about you guys." The other genins took turns in introducing themselves to Haku. After the introductions, "I'm happy that's out of the way," Kiba said with a toothy grin. "Tell me Haku, did Naruto fail to mention anything to you about my charming good looks and strong ninja arts?" "I don't swing that way Kiba," said a voice from above. Everyone looked up to see Naruto crouching down on top of a light pole. Unknown to them was that he shunshined to them with the use of the seal-marked kunai he gave Haku. "Hey," Kiba yelled indignantly, "I didn't mean it that way and you know it." "I'm just saying it as I heard it," Naruto mocked as he flipped back down to the ground and went over to the others. Luckily, Naruto, before arriving, healed the little facial cut and cleaned his face of any signs of Anko's personal treatment. The last thing he needed was Kiba and Akamaru finding something to either blackmail him on or cause more trouble for. "Naruto-kun," Hinata and Ino said simultaneously as they happily ran and embraced Naruto. Okay, Hina-chan and Ino-chan," Naruto smiled before returning the embrace, "I'm happy to see you both too." Though Sakura didn't voice it, she couldn't help but feel jealous of her best friend and Hinata. The pink-haired kunoichi often wished that Sasuke would welcome her with opened arms like how Naruto does with Hinata and Ino. Hinata and Ino soon released the blonde-haired shinobi from their embrace. "Sakura said that you, her and the rest of Team 7 went on your first A-rank mission," Ino said. "It started out as a C-rank mission but it turned into an A-rank in the end," Naruto confirmed. "In all, the mission was a success." "Well, we're happy that you and everyone came back safely," Hinata said. "I hope you didn't run into too much trouble." "No trouble at all," Naruto lied as he laughed nervously. "If you minus an Iwa Jounin kunoichi who wants to kill you for doing the Senin Garashi on her." Shaking the thoughts off, Naruto went over to Haku and said, "Haku-san." "Yes. Kaa-chan managed to get you a place of your own," Naruto said. "If you'll be so kind as to accompany me, I'll escort and show you where your new home is." Haku smiled and nodded. "Hey," Kiba interjected, "how about I come with you guys?" "Thanks Kiba," Naruto interjected, "but this is a D-rank mission Kaa-chan specifically gave to me as I'm to escort Haku-san by myself." "Hey Naruto," Sakura interjected, "about that conversation you had with those 3 Sunanins." "It's been taken care of Sakura," Naruto answered, "it's nothing for you or anyone else here to worry about. That's all there is to say about it. Hina-chan, Ino-chan, I'll meet up with you both later." Naruto gestured to Haku to follow him to their next destination. She complied as she followed Naruto to her new home, leaving the other genins behind. On the way, she gave Naruto back the kunai he asked her to hold on to earlier. "Damn it, that sucks," Kiba scowled. "For once there's a D-rank mission I'd have gladly performed and it's given to Naruto. I swear that mama's boy always get the sweet life." "Shut up Kiba," Ino shouted as she smacked the boy across his head. "Yes Kiba, stop complaining," Shikamaru said, "it's really troublesome." "Whatever," Kiba retorted while rubbing his head. Short after, the remaining genins disbanded and went about their own businesses. Later that evening, the 3 Sunanins were back at the hotel they were staying at with Beiki. Temari had given their Jounin sensei a full recount of everything that transpired from their encounter with Naruto. To say he was stupefied would have been an understatement. "Gaara," Beiki spoke cautiously, "you're serious about this?" "Need you ask?" Gaara replied dryly with his arms crossed. "Temari already told you everything." "But this will go against everything that Kazakage-sama instructed and planned with Otagakure," Beiki retorted. "On all accounts, such actions will be looked at as treason." "I can care less for what my father wants," Gaara replied. "Tomorrow I'm going to allow Naruto fix this seal of mine as he promised. If he succeeds, as payment for his services, not only will I tell him and the Hokages everything about this upcoming invasion, but he'll have me as his new ally in stopping this invasion Suna plans on doing with Oto. My foolish father can regard me as a traitor if he so wishes." Beiki knew that there was no way to change Gaara's mind. It was clear that the red-haired nin had already made up his mind and he wasn't about to go back on it now. The Jounin saw that he and the other Suna genins had no other choice but to go along with Gaara. Chapter 23, Cornered Beast. Late that afternoon at the Hokage Tower, Naruto was sitting at the desk in the Hokage study office with the forbidden scroll opened in front of him that Sandaime gave to him. While analyzing the Shiki Fujin, the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal written in the scroll, Naruto recalled the conversation he had with Sandaime about Gaara's demeanor. Flashback, an hour ago. Sandaime was making his way to Naruto who was waiting for him in the study office. In his hand was the forbidden scroll that had the seals that Naruto sought to study and analyze. While making his way to the office, there were a couple of factors that bothered the Sandaime about Gaara that Naruto didn't seem to explain to him and Tsunade earlier. The aged Hokage decided to ask Naruto about it after he meets up with him. Arriving at the office, Sandaime entered the room to find Naruto sitting at the desk awaiting his arrival. "Aji-san," Naruto greeted. Sandaime sighed again, figuring that Naruto will never stop calling him that. A small grin appeared on the blonde's face after seeing the elderly Hokage's facial expression. "Greetings to you too, Naruto," Sandaime said as he entered the office and closed the door behind him. The older man went over to the desk and handed Naruto the scroll. "The forbidden scroll as promised," Sarutobi said as Naruto took the scroll from him. The blonde Sunin level elite genin unsealed the scroll and opened it before resting it down on the desk. He rolled the scroll open until he got to where he wanted. "Perfect," Naruto said as he sealed the 3 seals he wanted to study and analyze before developing the method needed to fix Gaara's seal. While he was doing this, Sandaime decided to voice his thought. "Naruto, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you something." "What is it?" "Based on what you told me about Gaara," Sandaime started, "I would like to know why didn't he come right out and attack you where you stood? Since you informed your mother and I that his Baijuyu is unstable, it stands clear to me that he had every opportunity to attack you yet he didn't. He remained completely calm from what you said." "Gaara appeared calm," Naruto said, "but I saw in his eyes that he was actually struggling hard to keep Shukaku at bay as that Baijuyu looked for every opportunity to seduce Gaara into attacking me. I had to present myself to the farthest extent possible to Gaara that I in no way posed as a threat to him. When I saw that I couldn't exactly gain his trust that readily I gave him my trust by showing him my seal that contained Kyuubi." Sandaime made clear, that in itself could have invoked Shukaku's influence all the more. "What you took was a very risky gamble, Naruto. I guess Kaa-chan's bad gambling habit rubbed off on me in more ways than one, Eiji-san," Naruto remarked, "except I didn't get her bad luck streak." "Be that as it may," Sandaime retorted, "but luck won't help out in this case. A miracle is what you'll need to pull this off. You do realize that this is an S-rank mission you took on unknowingly, yes?" Naruto was quiet when he heard that statement. The blonde then replied, "Up until now, I honestly never realized that what I was doing was in fact an S-rank mission. I figured that I was helping someone who was in need of my help." "Thinking of the needs of others ahead of your own interests," Sandaime smiled, "take my word for it that I would have never entrusted to you that forbidden scroll if I didn't have strong confidence in you. Believe me, Naruto, I have complete trust and faith in your abilities." End flashback, present time. Naruto looked back at the scroll again as he resumed studying the ancient Kinjutsu Oji, while listening to Yondaime give his inputs about the seals. Several hours later that evening. It was nighttime and many were either sleeping, patrolling or enjoying the night out in town somewhere. Gaara, however, was in an isolated area in the forest by himself. He wanted to be away from everyone right now. Being an insomniac, he was deprived of all sorts of sleep. While sitting on top of a large boulder, he gazed at the full moon shining in all its glory. During the time he was sitting on the large rock, he wondered if accepting Naruto's offer was a good idea. Clearly Naruto in no way posed a threat to him, and like him, he's a Jinchuriki. The differences between them were that Naruto housed an even stronger Baijuyu than his, Kyuubi no Kitsune, and yet he didn't look like he was suffering from madness. "He's strong," Gaara thought, this Naruto clearly. "I wanted that Jinchuriki's blood," a maniacal demonic voice spoke, "why didn't you give me his blood when I was demanding for it?" Gaara shook his head, trying to get Shukaku's voice out of his mind. "Naruto is toying with you," Shukaku said. "He's only posing to want to help you so he can double-cross and kill you when you least expect it. You're nothing to him or anyone else. That's why you must prove your existence to him by killing him and taking his blood." The red-haired Suna shinobi struggled against the voice. "No, Shukaku," Gaara tried to resist, "Naruto is like me. He's the only one who can understand my pain. I want his blood," Shukaku yelled with an insane demeanor. "Naruto have blood tainted with Kyuubi's chakra. Don't trust that ninja. He'll betray you like all the others in your life. You can trust and love no one but yourself. Kill him before he kills you, Gaara. You must. So we can have his blood." Gaara held his head while trying to get Shukaku's torments out of his mind. Eventually the voice stopped, leaving Gaara to pant heavily while he held his head. All the while, Temari and Kankuro were walking around in search of Gaara. They sought to talk him out of what he had in mind in doing tomorrow afternoon. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Temari asked her younger brother. "We can't take the risk with this Konoha in Temari," Kankuro replied. "We don't know much about Naruto besides the little facts he gave us. And since when did Gaara start trusting total strangers?" "Look, I'm as skeptic about this whole thing as you are," Temari retorted, "but Gaara seemed to have found some kind of connection with Naruto that neither of us have with him, and he's our youngest brother. They're both Jinchurikis after all." "Listen," Kankuro replied, "every person Gaara ever trusted turned on him and tried to kill him. What makes you think Naruto won't do the same?" "Oddly enough, Gaara doesn't seem to think so," Temari said. "Plus Gaara told us that he doesn't want us to participate in the invasion of Konoha should Naruto hold true to his promise. Gaara is being blinded by false hope and promises from a genin who isn't even an experienced seal master," Kankuro countered, "and like you said earlier, Naruto could be setting up a trap for us. And the fact that he's in more control of his Baijuya, which is none other than Kyuubi, makes him a dangerous threat. We're being paranoid," Temari sighed, "and it's so unlike us." "Look, the sooner we find Gaara," Kankuro said, "the sooner we can convince him to change his mind about this whole thing. I'd hate for him to be seen as something far worse than he already is by our own people. We both know that everyone in Sunagakuer look down at Gaara, and practically everyone fear and hate Gaara. These are factors that Naruto cannot possibly understand, even if he is a Jinchuriki like Gaara." Temari didn't want to believe everything her younger brother was saying, but she knew he was telling the truth. In truth, parts of her wanted to believe that Naruto could live up to his promise in fixing the seal on Gaara, especially since Naruto was the first person in a long time who actually sought to help Gaara without bothering to know about his past. Meanwhile, back at the Hokage Tower, Naruto was sitting at the desk with a bunch of written and crossed out notes. For several hours Naruto, with Yondaime's assistance, worked round the clock studying the seals needed for Gaara's seal repairs. "This is so frustrating," Naruto vented as he slammed his fist down on the desk. "I never expected that this ancient Kinjutsu would have been this complicated." "Welcome to the wonderful world of sealing," Yondaime joked. "That wasn't very funny," Naruto remarked with frustration. "Just trying to lighten the mood," Yondaime replied. "Remember, you put yourself up to this. Think of it as part of your training to surpass me." "You still haven't taught me the Hiraishin," Naruto shot back. "That's because I don't see you ready to learn that jutsu yet." "So as a substitute," Naruto argued, "I had to learn to use and incorporate Shunshin into my style of fighting with Ero-Jisen's guidance and training. As you saw for yourself, it was no easy task. But you did it. Even without the Hiraishin, you proved to be a capable ninja by developing your own style of combat. Life is about change, Naruto. Sometimes you can't rely on the old ways to fix new problems. That's why revisions of the old ways are often made to fit the needs of new generations." "That's it," Naruto shouted as he shot up from his seat after receiving an epiphany. "Huh. Revising the old ways," Naruto replied, "that's the key. Dad, you're a genius." Sitting back at the desk, Naruto looked through the forbidden scroll again to analyze the ancient Shiki Fujin. "I think I can pull this off," Naruto thought with a new vigor of determination coursing through him. "Did I miss something?" Yondaime asked. Elsewhere in the Hokage Tower, Tsunade had just returned to her office from her meeting with the council. The topic that was up for discussion was Haku's entry into Konoha as a new citizen. Tsunade explained in detail everything Naruto, Kakashi, and Team 7 told her about their mission and Haku. Needless to say, the council was most thrilled about Haku being accepted as a new member Konoha, especially with her bloodline limit. Tsunade saw how the council and elders were most pleased with how Naruto handled the situation with Haku and how he negotiated and offered her the chance to join Konoha and put her ninja and medic skills into good use as a Konoha nin. The council saw this as a golden chance to create a whole new clan through Haku with her bloodline limit to strengthen Konohagakure altogether. Tsunade however explained that Haku won't have to worry about that until she's old enough to marry. The Godame also added that she gave Haku a place of her own and assigned her as Shizun's assistant. The blonde female Hokage sighed while sitting at her office desk before reviewing the documents for the Chunin exams. She saw on her desk Anko's form stating her nomination of Naruto for the exam. The blonde Hokage sighed again to herself. She knew without a doubt that her son was more than qualified to be Chunin. Hell, he was practically qualified to become Hokage, she figured. But she knew her old sensei wouldn't approve of her just handing over the position of Hokage to Naruto in spite of the fact that Sandaime himself considers Naruto a born Hokage. Jiraiya himself looks at Naruto as the new Yondaime Hokage. The blonde Hokage then thought about what her son was planning on doing in regards to Gaara's seal. If anything, she knew that Naruto was taking a very dangerous risk, but it was a risk he consciously took, though he wasn't aware at first that the task he took on for himself was in fact an S-rank mission. It amazed her that the Sandaime believed in Naruto's capabilities enough to be willing to allow him to even read and use the Forbidden Scroll, a privilege that even the Umbu Black Ops were never granted. What was written in that scroll were very powerful, dangerous, and deadly seals, jutsus and kinjutsu from Jounin to Kage level of various ranks. All 5 Hokages have written kinjutsus and kinjutsu ujus in that scroll, however Yondaime never wrote how to create and perform the Raise-Non or the Hiraishin no Jutsu in that scroll. Later that evening, back in the study office, concept prototype seals were in front of Naruto on the desk. Littered on the floor around his seat were crumbled pieces of paper that had previous concept seals and hand seals he tried to devise. After much effort though, progress started being made. It was after several more attempts in creating concept seals did Naruto finally thought up a way to incorporate the revised seal designs from the Shiki Fujin, the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal into Gaara's seal. The revised seal Naruto created was a new Funkinjutsu Uji. After putting down on a separate scroll the incorporated modified seals he thought up for the repairs, he rolled and closed the Forbidden Scroll. He then rolled up and closed the other scroll he wrote in. He got up from his seat and went over to the cabinet to place both scrolls in it. Locking the cabinet securely after placing the scrolls in it, Naruto, after placing a seal marker in the room, stepped out of the study room and locked the door. He decided to take a walk to clear his mind and take a break. When he saw that no one was in sight, bit his thumb and performed some hand seals. Kuki-yos no jutsu, Naruto said as he slammed his right hand to the ground, result in a puff of smoke to momentarily appear. After the smoke cleared, standing before Naruto was a small orange and white two-tailed fox with blue eyes, white gloves, and red and white sneakers. /N, yes, it's who you think it is, this is a Boro character from Sonic the Hedgehog. Naruto-sama, said the small fox in a happy childish voice. Tails, Naruto greeted, I have a job for you. Tails started propelling his two tails helicopter style until he was now airborne and looking at Naruto face to face. The flying two-tailed fox asked, really, what it is? Naruto took out his seal marked Kunao and handed it to the flying fox. Find Gaara, Naruto said, place this Kunao in an area close to the vicinity Gaara is at, but don't make any form of contact with him. Report back to me immediately after the job is done. If you do the job right, I'll reward you with the highest quality yukin with gold leaves from Amagiri Ya. /N, a yukin is a tasty chocolate treat, watch episode 178 and you'll see what I mean. You got it, Tails said excitedly as he held the Kunao and speedily flew off away from Naruto to the skies until he was no longer in sight. Kyuubi team could learn a lot from that playful little fox, Naruto thought. Don't disgust me, kid, Kyuubi retorted sourly, I never actually took a liking to that little two-tailed twerp anyway. Though Tails is a very smart and gifted kid, however his childish demeanor sickens me. Which makes me fond of him all the more, Naruto shot back before Kyuubi snarled beastly in response. Saying nothing else, Naruto turned his attention to his earlier thoughts about the seals he was studying back at the Hokage study office. Studying, revising, and making seals of that magnitude was a headache, Naruto sighed as he made his way out of the Hokage tower and into the opening. Yet discovering, making, studying, and mastering seals were among the things us namikazes were good for. My son, Yondaime spoke, I'm amazed that you managed to come up with a way to completely modify the ancient Shiki Fujin and integrate it with the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal, ultimately creating a whole new Funkinjutsu Uji. It was your idea, Naruto retorted, revising the old ways to fit the needs of new generations. I modified that ancient seal and create a whole new modernized seal. If all goes well, it should work as effectively as if the original, if not better. You're making me proud seeing you live up to our legacy. Naruto tried to fight back a blush that crept up on his face. Yoon, Kyuubi bellowed in disgust, such tender moments between you two makes me nauseous. You damn humans. Shut up Kyuubi, Naruto retorted in annoyance as he started walking from the Hokage tower. I can't believe you seek to help that waste of a human life, Kyuubi said, he's a lost cause kid. If I know Shukaku, he made that boy's life a true hell thanks to whomever made that defected seal on that boy. I'm sure that's complemented with how the people from Sunagakuer might have treated the boy. What do you mean? Naruto inquired. What I mean kid is that Jinchurikis like yourself and Gaara aren't always treated like humans, Kyuubi shot back, they're often feared, hated, and treated as though they're the Baijus themselves. You've been spared Gaara's fate for the simple fact that Yondaime used a different sealing jutsu through dumb luck and sealed himself into you along with me. Naruto stopped walking as Kyuubi continued. If the situation was different and Yondaime wasn't sealed into you, his foolish ideals of you being seen as the hero who saved Konoha from me would not have been honored by the villagers or the council as his dying wish. You'd have been treated as a plague and received indescribable accounts of abuse, neglect, scorn, and inhuman mistreatment from your so-called precious people. Sandaime may have tried to intervene in your behalf, but I doubt that even he would have been able to change the way the villagers would have viewed you as. They would have never seen you for what your father wanted you to be seen as by the people. Take my word for it kid, humans are good for betraying their own faster than other creature on this planet. Your precious people would have forced you to atone for crimes and atrocities that I've committed and use you as a human scapegoat to vent their blinded anger on, as if you were responsible for all the misery that befell them when you had nothing to do with it. Parents would never think of adopting you, in fact they would see to it that their children never came near you and inculcate their hatred of you into them. Shopkeepers would have run you out of their stores. You would have had to salvage through trash cans for food and clothing as a homeless. Your teachers at the academy would have made your life difficult and see to it that you never became a ninja. They probably would have even tried to kill you in fact, or trick you into performing crimes for them so that way when you were caught, it'd be easy to pin the blame on you. If anything, you might have resorted to pulling stupid pranks on the villagers just so you can get their attention, not caring if you were being yelled at or scolded just so long as they acknowledged your existence. You would have been beaten up, teased, ridiculed and scorned by peers of your old age group on a daily basis. You'd have suffered and lived a most lonely, bitter, and pitiful life with no family or friends. You'd have been seen by everyone in all of Konoha as the human incarnation of me, not as Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto contemplated on what Kyuubi was telling him. The blonde started wondering what life for him would have been like had Yondaime not been sealed away inside him. Naruto's head lowered, shooting his gaze down to his feet as he visualized life in the manner Kyuubi described it to him. He couldn't help but see truths in what the great fox was telling him. Yondaime himself remained silent as he too knew that Kyuubi was telling the truth as much as he hated to admit it. It felt like an eternity as Naruto stood fixated where he was silently. A cool breeze blew past him, causing his white, red flame-designed vest and hair to flow with the wind. After a long moment of silence, Naruto mentally retorted. You're right Kyuubi. My father's dying wish would not have been honored. It would have been quite the opposite really. All that you said would have indeed happened to me without question that much is true. Yondaime lowered his head in dejection on hearing those words. However, Naruto continued, you're wrong about a number of things Kyuubi. Yondaime's head shot on hearing those words. Not all humans are treacherous. I'm more than certain that there would have been those who would have seen past the ridiculous notion of me being you incarnate. Though I would have been treated like garbage by the villagers however, I would not stoop to their level or retaliate in some vicious manner to prove their points. No. I would have done everything in my power and work hard to prove to everyone that I wasn't you and that I'm my own person. True, such a feat would have been looked at as impossible. Still, if even a few looked at me as a human being and not as you or another Jinchuriki, that would have been more than enough to show that I had a chance to prove to everyone that they were wrong about me and how they treated me. In time, I would have made some real friends and earned the respect and recognition I felt I deserved from everyone. I would prove to all of Konoha that I wasn't or will ever be you, but the hero my father wanted me to be and seen as. And even then, I would have strived to become Hokage to prove that to everyone. Kyuubi snarled at Naruto before retreating back into the darkness of his cage. Naruto for his part continued his walk through the village, while Yondaime looked on at Naruto with more respect and admiration than before. He couldn't feel more proud of his son. Some time later, back at forest, Kankuro and Temari found Gaara standing on top of the large boulder in front of them. What the two Suna siblings saw was an area that was once a forest turned into a desert. From the look of things, it's clear that Gaara was going through one of his episodes with Shukaku. Realizing this, the Sunanins approached him cautiously. "Hey Gaara," Kankuro greeted, "we've been searching for you for a while now. Is everything okay?" The red-haired nin didn't give a reply. "Gaara," Temari stated, "Kankuro and I came here to talk to you." The youngest Sunanin turned to look at the two older nins square in the face. "About what?" Gaara asked dryly. Nervously, Temari replied, "Your decision to see Naruto tomorrow." The older Sunanins now felt strong bloodlust generating from their youngest brother, much to their fright. "You dare question me again about this?" Gaara spoke with a dark tone. Temari cowered from him while Kankuro reasoned, "Listen, you're setting your hopes too high on someone we don't even know. Just because he's a Jinhuriki like you doesn't mean we should automatically trust him." "Yet Naruto trusted us first," Temari mumbled in an undertone which was heard by Kankuro. "Temari," Kankuro started. "Think about it," Temari said, "no one in Konoha but the Hokages and the Konoha Council knows about Naruto's dark secret, yet Naruto willingly chose to share this with us even though we're total strangers and foreigners. Doesn't that at least tell us something about him?" Kankuro remarked, "That he's dash." "That I'm what?" asked the voice belonging to the person entering the scene. The three siblings turned to see Naruto making his way towards them. "Untrustworthy because I'm a total stranger who's a Jinhuriki helping a total stranger who so happens to be a Jinhuriki like myself," Naruto remarked. "Before you go judging me, why don't you research the facts first?" "What are you doing out here?" Kankuro interrogated. "I live in this village, therefore I'm free to walk where I like," Naruto countered. "What are you two doing out here?" "Us too," Temari asked with a confused expression. "What about Gaara?" "I can understand his reasons for being here," Naruto replied, "plus he's the person I came here to find." Naruto turned his gaze from Temari and Kankuro to Gaara. The two Jinhurikis looked at each other without saying a word in exchange. Naruto was aware of the situation after seeing what became of the near surrounding forest, which was reduced to a desert wasteland. "I'm happy to have found you out here, Gaara," Naruto said while maintaining an alert demeanor. "It makes it easier for me to do what I came here for." "Kill," shouted a maniacal demonic voice in Gaara's mind, "kill him and give me his blood." Gaara held his head, trying to get rid of the voice as he felt Shukaku's influence. The raccoon dog, Tanuki, demon always did this. He altered his adrenaline and made him enjoy the thrill of killing. However, Gaara did not delude himself. He liked killing all of the people. It's what they all deserved in his opinion for doing to him what they did. "Love thyself and only thyself," that was his motto. "Give me blood. Give me the blood of that Jinhuriki," shouted out Shukaku's voice in his mind. "Give it to me now." Naruto saw the insane look in Gaara's eyes. The red-haired nin was ready to kill. Naruto slowly walked over to Gaara cautiously when he and the other Suna siblings felt a massive amount of bloodlust directed entirely at Naruto. The cork from Gaara's gourd popped off and out came the sand as it wrapped around Gaara. What Naruto was now looking at was a heavily disfigured Gaara standing before him with one large claw-like arm, preparing to strike. "Your blood has been asked for, Naruto," Gaara said in a maniacal before he thrust his clawed arm at the blonde. Naruto wasted no time and ran to the side before the attack hit. The force of the attack sent him flying off his feet and down to the ground momentarily. Temari and Kankuro ran out of the way as the two Jinhurikis prepared to fight. "Shukaku wishes to fight, huh?" Kyuubi said. "Fine. I've been meaning bust that weakling's ass for some time now." "You're willing to help?" Naruto asked in a mock-tone shocked voice. "Well, somebody has to put that Baijuyu in its place," Kyuubi retorted, "and I don't want to give the impression that my container is weak." Naruto got up and turned his gaze back to the demonically deformed-looking Gaara, who was drooling rather nastily. Gaara gave Naruto a maniacal smile and geared his monstrous sand-made claw towards him. "This guy is out of control and a real threat to both himself and everyone," Naruto thought, I better end this possible death match now and fast before it attracts unwanted attention from the village. Tajuyokage Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto called out as a massive army of solid clones came to life and surrounded Gaara. Stop him by whatever means possible, Naruto ordered before the clones charged at Gaara. Naruto, Gaara screamed crazily with drool spilling out of his mouth as he charged at the clones, give me your blood. The clones went to work in fighting with Gaara. Meanwhile, the real Naruto went to work to create the special written seal Jiraiya created and taught to him some time ago. After hurriedly preparing the seal, Naruto looked to see the clones doing everything in their power to restrain the possessed Gaara who was fighting with them fiercely with all-out intent to kill and destroy everything and everyone in sight. From where Naruto was seeing it, there was no possible way to hold Gaara down long enough in order to place the written seal on him. He had to come up with another approach to this fast, time was running out. Meanwhile, the clones were battling it out with Gaara who was putting up quite a resistance against them. Many of the clones were already smashed, crushed, pulverized, or beaten out of existence by the deranged Gaara. Temari and Kankuro watched from a distance as Naruto and Gaara fought it out against each other in a savage death fight. For their own safety they decided to remain neutral as the two Jinchurikis settled their issues or at least until one of them was left standing, alive that is. A while later, all of the clones seemed to have been puffed out of existence leaving the three Suna siblings remaining in the opening. Naruto, Gaara yelled out maniacally with Shukaku's voice mixed in, where are you? I want that blood of yours. Naruto came speedily from the trees and body crashed into Gaara while he dug through his kunao pockets. Gaara used his giant sand hand to dig into the ground to stop his backward momentum. Naruto took out a kunao with an exploding tag on it and threw at Gaara's feet. The possessed nin brought his large arm up to protect himself from the explosion. It blasted Gaara back a couple of more feet. Why are you attacking me? Asked Naruto, I'm trying to help you. Kill, your blood. I must have it. I must satisfy him, shouted out Gaara, yet you're strong, how, why are you strong, why can't I kill you yet? I don't wish to fight you, stated Naruto, I only want to he-dash. I have to kill you, I must, to prove my existence, said Gaara as he clutched his head. To prove your existence? Asked Naruto as he watched Gaara's predicament before Kyuubi's words from earlier came back to him. The blonde saw where Gaara was coming from after hearing those words. Shukaku was presently filling Gaara's mind with painful memories of his childhood against his will. Gaara! Shouted out Shukaku, give me more control. We will kill him and take his blood. Give me control so I can have his blood. More of the sand encased around Gaara and now his whole body resembled that of a raccoon. Sand spikes burst from his body all aimed at Naruto. The blonde shinobi pulled out his kunao and began slashing with speed and grace destroying all of the deadly sand spikes. Gaara's chest enlarged before he blew out a breath of chakra-filled air at Naruto. Naruto evaded to the side but was partially hit in his left arm. His arm was partly skinned and blood leaked from injury made by the attack. Naruto grabbed his wounded and bleeding arm. Taking advantage of the momentary ceasefire, the possessed Gaara charged at Naruto and grabbed him by the throat before he could do anything. Sand started wrapping around Naruto from off Gaara until Naruto was completely encased with sand. The sand-covered Naruto was levitated to the air a couple of distance away from Gaara. He's done for, Temari said as she knew what was coming next. Sabaku Soso, desert funeral, Gaara said he clenched his fist, causing the sand to implode and crush Naruto from within. But instead of seeing a sizable fountain of blood produced from the attack, smoke came from out of it. What? The possessed Gaara yelled in surprise. Kawarimi, Kankuro figured, but when did he dash? Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, Earth Release, Inner Decapitation Technique. A hand suddenly burst from out of the ground and grabbed Gaara by the leg before pulling him down into the ground. A little more than 2/3s of Gaara's body was pulled and saved for his right claw arm. The Naruto clones that hid in the shadows waiting for an opening burst forth and tackled the claw arm and held onto Gaara's head. Ofun, subdue seal, the real Naruto said as he applied the seal paper onto Gaara's forehead. The special written seal immediately went into effect as it began to suppress the effects of the demon raccoon's chakra and personality changes. Gaara screamed with his voice mixed with Shukaku's until the monster raccoon's influence was fully suppressed, returning Gaara back to normal as the sand was forced back into the gourd with the cork popping back over the mouth of the gourd. Temari and Kankuro stepped back out into the opening as they watched Naruto pull Gaara up from out of the ground and hold him up in front of him. The older Sunanins walked to the younger boys when they noticed something was wrong. Why are they staring at each other like that? Temari wondered out loud. It looks like they're in some kind of trance, Kankuro realized. Indeed the two Jinhyurikis were. Both Naruto and Gaara were locked in gaze with each face to face. The two boys remained motionless in the fixed positions they were in. Gaara found himself in empty opening surrounded by mist. The mist cleared to reveal a massive cage that looked to be heavily damaged and broken in a couple of places. Parts of the bars of the cage doors looked like they were slashed and chewed on. On the cage was a ragged piece of paper that had the kanji for the word seal on it. Just then a maniacal roar came from with the damaged cage. Gaara's head shot up as he looked upon the massive light brown raccoon dog figure making its way to the cage. "Gaara!" roared the Baijuyu standing in front of the cage before it lashed his claw out at him through the broken cage. The claw just barely reached Gaara's face, being mere millimeters away. "Shukaku," Gaara answered. "Indeed it is," replied another voice from behind Gaara. Gaara turned to see Naruto standing some distance behind him with shallow water at his feet with the cage Kyuubi was sealed in behind the blonde. "N, it's the same as in the anime." "Where are we?" Gaara inquired. "In the mindscape realm of our subconscious minds," Naruto answered, "somehow our subconscious minds linked through some form of telepathic link. Ultimately, this is an entirely different universe being created within our minds." Gaara looked at the cage behind Naruto before the nine-tailed Baijuyu appeared from behind the cage. "So that's the great Kyuubi no Kitsune," Gaara replied calmly. Kyuubi looked at Shukaku with a mocking grin. "Shukaku-kun," Kyuubi mocked, "aren't you a sight for sore eyes?" Kyuubi started pouring out his blood-red chakra through the cage and into the water, forming a water and bubble version of himself from the upper waist up, forming his head and four paws. Kyuubi then sent his representation over to Shukaku's damaged cage. "The sight of you just comes to show just how pathetic you were and have always been," Kyuubi figure taunted. "It's no secret that you were always the stupidest and weakest of us Baijus." Shukaku lashed out at him trying to claw the representation through the cage, but the representation didn't budge at all since Shukaku's claws were a mere few centimeters away from reaching. "Shut up," Shukaku roared, "I'll have the blood of your Jinhyuriki yet." "You're too weak to even hope to accomplish that," Kyuubi figure taunted, "just as weak as the person who sealed you in that decrepit cage of yours." "He he 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 he. "Stop it Kyuubi," Naruto ordered. "You were sealed by a weakling who was nothing more than a false seal master," Kyuubi figure continued, "whereas I was sealed by a true and strong seal master. In spite of your lack of intelligence, I think you can see a repeating pattern." Gaara watched as the two Baijus quarreled with each other. "You were poorly sealed into a weakling genin ninja," Kyuubi figure mocked, "I was excellently sealed into a mighty genin ninja. Don't you see the cycle? Your Jinhyuriki is a reflection and embodiment of your weak and sad existence. My Jinhyuriki reflects my might and fearsome existence. That's just the way it is." The Kyuubi figure exploded and splashed all over Shukaku, enraging the Baijuyu. "Kyuubi!" Shukaku roared menacingly as it thrashed against the cage fiercely trying to break free. Kyuubi laughed darkly while watching Shukaku's berserk state. "Damn you Kyuubi!" Naruto yelled before turning his attention to Gaara, who was standing where he was while looking at Shukaku. "Gaara, listen to me," Naruto said, "pay no attention to Kyuubi team. Your Baijuyu raises some points that I found agreeable," Gaara spoke with a deadpan tone, "which is why I always had to prove my existence to the world." "And what does that entail?" Naruto inquired. Gaara didn't answer as the sands on the ground cleared away from Naruto's feet. Looking down into the ground, Naruto saw what looked like a window of some sort. Taking a closer look, Naruto realized that he was looking into Gaara's life as a child and what Naruto was looking at wasn't something he was thrilled about. Naruto saw how Gaara was trained by his father, Yondaime Hokage, but raised mainly by his uncle, Yoshimaru. Because of the power of Shukaku, the villagers of Tsunagaku hated and feared Gaara, seeing him only for the monster sealed within him. For a time, Naruto saw, Yoshimaru seemed to be the only person who cared about Gaara. When Gaara would mistakenly harm others due to the subconscious abilities granted to him by Shukaku, Yoshimaru would be the only one who understood that Gaara hadn't intended to harm anyone. Gaara's father, however, didn't see Gaara in the same light, and viewed Gaara's repeated attacks upon villagers as a result of a failed experiment that was a threat to the village. Because of the danger Gaara imposed, his father began sending assassins to kill him, though when all attempts met with failure, the Kazekage asked Yoshimaru to kill Gaara. As a result, Yoshimaru tried to assassinate Gaara, though Gaara's abilities beaten Yoshimaru with no difficulty, saddening Gaara. Although Gaara tried to discharge Yoshimaru's attack as an order of the Kazekage, Yoshimaru corrected him by saying that he had freely accepted the mission. Having never truly loved Gaara, Yoshimaru hoped that killing Gaara would avenge the death of his sister, Gaara's mother, who had named Gaara after the phrase, a self-loving carnage, a symbol of her hate for Gaara. In a last-ditch effort to kill Gaara, Naruto saw through the memory window. Yoshimaru detonated a number of explosive tags covering his body, asking Gaara to, please die. Gaara survived the blast and lost the only person he thought had cared for him. While Gaara had initially tried to be friendly towards others despite their fear of him, Yoshimaru's actions and words changed Gaara. Realizing that nobody loved him, Gaara used his sand to create the kanji for love on his forehead as a symbol of a demon loving only himself. Naruto saw how Gaara became emotionally withdrawn, all but silent, and consumed with a bitter loathing for everyone but himself. The blonde saw how Gaara learned to find pleasure and eventually a reason to live in annihilating the numerous assassins sent to kill him, and by extension, anyone who threatened his existence. Gaara's insomnia, forced upon him by the fear that the raccoon demon inside him would eat away at his personality if he were to fall asleep, only furthered his instability and desire to kill. Naruto then saw how Gaara's father came to appreciate Gaara and the uses he could serve before cancelling all assassination orders in the hopes that Gaara would become an effective tool. Looking into the memory window, Naruto watched Gaara's childhood and saw how unfortunate the red-haired boy was due to his lack of anyone to call a friend. Gaara was lonely and desired to be liked, loved, and acknowledged as an individual, free of others' prejudices. They, Naruto and Gaara, are themselves, not the bijos they were forced to contain, and both were driven into a desperate state. While Naruto consequently used the conception of pranks, mischief, and laughter as a defense against the madness that threatened his well-being, Gaara came to the conclusion that he could preserve and confirm his own existence by killing any and all who challenged it, securing an extreme form of existentialism as his key personality trait. In the absence of others' acknowledgement, Naruto acknowledged, Gaara could compensate by valuing only himself to the exclusion of everyone else. While Naruto had family and friends to acknowledge him, Gaara never had anyone to bond with and didn't understand the concept of fighting for anything other than himself. The memory mirror vanished from Naruto's sight, leaving him alone with Gaara and the two bijos. What he saw gave him a new understanding of life as a jinhiriki faced with inhumane hatred and fear by those who were supposed to be your family, friends, and people. It broke Naruto's heart to know that Gaara, a fellow jinhiriki forced to carry the burden of being a container without his consent, was made to suffer everything Kyuubi told him would have happened to him had Yondaime Hokage not been sealed away alongside him. "I'm sorry," Naruto said lowly as a few tears fall from his eyes, "I'm so sorry." Gaara looked at Naruto quietly. "I know I can never truly understand what growing up had to be like for you, Gaara," Naruto spoke, "but do understand that I understand the burden of being a container. Like you, I became one without my consent, and I didn't learn about this until I was 8 years old. Though you and I lived completely different lives, however, I want to offer you something that no has ever given you, my friendship." The Sunanin looked at Naruto skeptically and asked, "You seek friendship with me because of sentimentality?" "I seek friendship with you because no one ever gave you a true reason live and exist. Believe me, Gaara, I know and met someone who experienced a similar case. Like you, she was hated and feared by her family because of a feared bloodline limit she carries, and her own father tried to kill her before he died. She became homeless and no one in her village wanted anything to do with her. She was later taken in by a shinobi swordsman who only used her as a weapon and instrument. She consciously knew this, but she dismissed it because he was the only person who took her in, sheltered and trained her. After her defeat to me, she begged me to end her life, believing that she no longer could prove her purpose to exist. After much effort I managed to convince her not to end her life and to start her life anew here in Konoha, where she could make new friends and family and find a new and better purpose to live, not as somebody's weapon or tool but as someone who could put her skills into great use in helping others. I offered her my friendship and trust in a better way to prove her existence to everyone. You can do likewise if you'd let me help you, Gaara. Please, let me be your friend. You don't have to carry this burden alone. The pain can be coped with easier if you'd let me carry it with you, not as a fellow Jinhuriki, but as a real friend. Those were words Gaara never heard in all his life. No one has ever offered him friendship, even when he begged and cried to it. Now here it was that a total stranger and foreigner was offering him something he had so longed for all his life, but was always denied it. Don't listen to him, Shukaku roared, he'll turn on you like all the others. Don't let him have his way. Kill him and give me his blood. Shukaku, shut up, Gaara retorted as he faced the Byakuya, you've been a thorn at my side long enough. Gaara turned and faced Naruto, and saw the sincerity in his eyes as the blonde extended his right hand to him. Slowly, Gaara walked over to him and reached out for his hand before he embraced it. I accept, Gaara said before everything went white. Back in the real world, Gaara and Naruto woke out of their trance. The red-haired Jinhuriki found himself being held by the blonde Jinhuriki. There was a moment of silence between the two Byakuya containers as Temari and Kankuro quietly looked on, wondering what was going to happen next. Gaara, Naruto said as he looked at the boy. Gaara looked back at Naruto, calmed before he nodded. Believing things to be in the clear, Naruto was about to turn and face the older ninjas when Gaara reached out and grabbed Naruto's left arm. The blonde leaf nin turned to see the look in on Gaara's face. What Naruto was looking at wasn't Gaara's previous facial expression. That expression was replaced with maniacal one that strongly desired the death of many in mindless chaos as sand from Gaara's gourd started pouring out and covering over Gaara's form. This isn't over yet, Kyuubi, Gaara said with Shukaku's maniacal voice, I'll show you who's truly weak after I'm drunk with the blood of your Jinhuriki. Shit, Naruto cursed after realizing the situation as Gaara's deformed sand-covered arm grabbed and held Naruto as he thrust him into the air before slamming him down to the ground. The Ofun, Naruto said between his coughs, I placed it on Gaara's head, I don't understand what went wrong. Naruto's train of thoughts was derailed when the Shukaku possessed Gaara, with his now enlarged arm, punched him harder into the ground, forming a crater into the ground with Naruto's body. Gaara, Temari yelled in hopes that Gaara's mind would hear her voice. But as both siblings saw that wasn't going to happen since Shukaku took control of his container. Shut up, bitch, Shukaku roared through Gaara's mouth, wait your fucking turn. I'll kill you in a min dash. The possessed Sunanin wasn't allowed to finish when Naruto burst from out of the ground and delivered a solid right hook to Gaara's jaw, sending him flying from off the ground, thus sending him airborne. While airborne, Gaara caught himself before thrusting his sand-covered arm out at Naruto, speedily catching the blonde by his leg. With much force, he pulled Naruto into the air over him before he flung him down hard into the ground. After the impact, Naruto turned to see Gaara's massive claws plummeting down at jet speed toward him. The blonde rolled away at the last second before the enlarged razor-sharp claws plunged into him and deep into the ground. Temari and Kankuro knew there was nothing they could do to stop this fierce and deadly fight that sparked for reason unknown. They knew that getting between the two Jinhurikis during their fight would have promised certain death. All they could do was watch safely from the side. While on his back, Naruto kicked into the air and landed back on his feet before charging at Gaara directly. Tackling and grabbing him firmly, Naruto performed a seal, causing both himself and Gaara to teleport away from the scene, thus leaving both Kankuro and Temari alone in the demolished forest. What the? Kankuro yelled, where did they go? Your guess is as good as mine, Temari replied, having no idea where the two Jinhurikis went. Chapter 24, Road to Redemption. 10 minutes earlier, back at the Hokage Tower that night. Sandaime was busy preparing and getting everything ready for the seal repair procedure. It took some time, but he managed to attain everything that was going to be needed, based on the sealing Yondaime used years ago when he made the seal on Naruto's stomach. Ironic really, Sandaime thought while preparing the sealing ritual chamber, it's almost like a repeat of history. But with Yondaime guiding the boy, I'm sure things will go smoothly. Moments later, the door opened and Yondaime entered the room. Tsunade, Sarutobi greeted. "Sarutobi-sensei," Tsunade inquired, "have you seen Naru-chan?" "Last time I checked he was in the study office." The boy locked himself in that room and hadn't stepped out of it since. "He's been in that room for hours really. I tried knocking on the door, but I got no response from him," Tsunade replied. "I unlocked the door only to see that he wasn't in the room at all." Sandaime thought before taking a puff of his pipe. "Surprising, he must have gone for a walk I suppose. He has been working on those seals nearly non-stop." "I could tell," Tsunade retorted. "He had a lot of paperwork and scrolls cluttered all over his desk and floor. It reminded me of my own office much to my horror." Sandaime chuckled at this. "Your son takes after you in more ways than one, Tsunade." "I just wish I knew where he was," Tsunade sighed. "I was interested in finding out how he was doing with those jutsus we allowed him to study." "You're worried about him," Sandaime acknowledged. "It's most understandable. Those seals we knowingly allowed him to analyze are very dangerous if used incorrectly, especially by a person who has no expertise on seals of that magnitude. But still, this is an S-rank mission he chose to take on and he is a shinobi after all. I'm sure everything will turn out all right." Tsunade sighed again as she consented to her former sensei's words. However, part of her sensed that something troubling was happening, and Naruto was somehow involved in it. Present time. Naruto teleported with the Shukaku-possessed Gaara, far into a different forest many miles away from Konoha. It was an isolated area Naruto had placed jutsu markers around months ago during his 4-month training period with Jiraiya when they left Konoha. He did this as a precaution in the event that something extremely dangerous was about to happen, with the need to remove the danger as far away from the village as possible. Naruto took a good look at Gaara. Half of Gaara's face was mutated into what looked like a tanuki, raccoon dog, and his right arm was enormous and mutated. Before Naruto could do anything further, Gaara said darkly and maniacally, "Naruto, I'm going to quench my bloodthirst with your life." Gaara, with his mutated arm, punched Naruto away from him and removed the seal paper from off his head before tearing it apart. After this, Gaara turned into the humanoid version of Shukaku again, with his deadly spiked tail ready to attack the blonde. Naruto formed the seal for Kage Bunshin, and 6 clones came to life. They jumped towards Gaara, who used his huge claw-like hands to grab them. "Now!" the clones yelled. At this, the real Naruto had appeared behind Gaara using clones as stepping boards, and thrust a Raiznan under Gaara's tail, while calling out, "Hidden village of Konoha hidden Taijutsu Oji, Senin Goroshi, Raiznan no Byajan, 1000 years of pain, Raiznan version." The result was that Gaara's tail was ripped and blown off, and Gaara himself was sent spiraling into a tree. Naruto grinned but was forced to evade sand projectiles that Gaara hurled towards him. "Suna Shuriken, Sand Shuriken," Gaara called and shot more sand projectiles towards Naruto, who was forced to use some clones as body shields. Naruto ran through some hand seals and called out, "Katon, Gukaku no Jutsu." A stream of fire came flying out of Naruto's mouth and straight towards Gaara's eyes. The red-haired possessed Sunanin barely had time to dodge the attack with his sand as he held his eyes in pain. He cried out loudly from the attack while throwing random projectiles as Naruto. Luckily his eyes weren't damaged from the flames, however the heat from the attack caused him some trouble with his sight. Gaara was not happy. His ass was sore, though luckily the sand had absorbed most of the impact of the jutsu Naruto had used. Still he was sore and was having trouble seeing. "I'll kill you," the possessed Gaara roared with radiating killer intent. When his eyes stopped hurting, and he opened them, he was surprised to see clones, lots and lots of clones surrounding him, whether it was in the trees or the ground. "Tajuyo Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," the Naruto army called out simultaneously. It had to be at least 2,000 of them. Time to kick it up a notch. "Let's go. Uzi Maki Naruto Renden 2000 version." The Naruto army called, while kicking Gaara up into the air, and punching him 2 times each. After they were done, Gaara fell limp to the ground, his sand body all but destroyed. "Now we will use our feet and give you a 4000 version." The Narutos called. "He's so strong," Gaara thought before more of Shukaku's chakra starting pouring out. "Kit, you feel that?" Kuwabai asked. "I do. More of Shukaku's chakra is coming out," Naruto answered and prepared himself. Just in time, too, since not a moment later, A huge claw shot up and destroyed all the clones, sending Naruto flying towards a tree. It was at this time that Gaara grinned and started doing hand seals. Sand gathered around the transformed Gaara and formed a sphere just as Gaara muttered, "Tanuki Niiri no Jutsu, forced sleep technique. This will prove interesting," Kyuubi remarked. "What's he doing?" Naruto asked. "A transformation." "A henge?" Naruto asked. "No, something stronger." Naruto's eyes widened as the sand sphere started enlarging in size and mass. After several seconds it quickly started to disperse, sending sand upward, then the sand started to take the shape of an animal of some sort. "A tanuki," Naruto acknowledged. The tanuki was starting to tower above every tree in the forest. The Byakuya was a light brown color, obviously due to the fact that it was made of sand, though it did have blue markings around his body, dark black eyes with small yellow pupils. And finally a very huge tail that was probably twice as long as Shukaku was. Gaara was now finishing his transformation. Naruto looked up to the tanuki with widened eyes. "It's as big as a small mountain." "Naruto," Shukaku roared loudly. "Just great," Naruto muttered. "Well, this was quite unexpected," Yondaime stated. "Any suggestions?" Naruto asked. "Don't die," Yondaime retorted. "Aren't you a load of help?" Naruto remarked in sarcasm. "I don't understand what went wrong with that ophun seal I placed on Gaara's head. It should have worked perfectly." "You won't get the answer to your question if Gaara isn't stopped soon," Yondaime remarked. "Whatever happens, Kit, I want both you and your father to know that I never really liked either of you," Kyuubi spoke. "Now that's the Kyuubi I know and hate," Naruto retorted, "but I plan on living past today." Naruto bit his thumb before going through a series of hand seals. "Kuki Yos no Jutsu," he yelled as he slammed his thumb into the ground, resulting in a mass of white smoke to fill the area. When the smoke cleared, standing before him was a half-human/half-fox humanoid masked woman dressed in ceremonial battle attire. A/N, think of the same Daomon from Digimon Tamers. "Naruto-sama," the masked fox woman greeted and bowed, "What do I owe the honor?" "Your assistance, Tao," Naruto said. "I have a major problem." The half-human/half-fox humanoid masked woman looked to see the massive sand tanuki towering some distance away from them. Tao took out and threw a magical red spell paper into the air and then ran through a series of hand seals. When she was done, "Terisuman Superu no Jutsu, talisman spell technique," she shouted before both her and Naruto were encased inside a force field-generated dome. The dome levitated off the ground and flew over to where Shukaku was. Upon reaching the creature, Naruto could see Gaara slumped over Shukaku's forehead, buried up to his waist. Gaara was obviously sleeping. Why is he sleeping? Naruto wondered. He fell asleep to give Shukaku full control over his body, Kyuubi answered. Shukaku having better control of wind and sand is obviously much stronger. However, Shukaku's vessel can't sleep, since Shukaku comes out when his Jinhiriki does. Also, he devours their soul. The vessel tends to become insane because of that. You'll never be able to get close enough to Gaara as long as Shukaku is in control. Therefore, why don't you just kill Gaara and end his plight with Shukaku? You would be doing him a service by putting Shukaku in his grave, a grave they both would be sharing. Damare yo! Baka Kitsune team, shut up you stupid bastard fox, Naruto mentally yelled. It was about this time that Shukaku noticed the blonde riding inside a transparent dome with another figure with him. After a few moments his eyes widened. Is that you, Kyuubi? Naruto looked straight at Shukaku. I am not Kyuubi. I'm the one who's going to seal you. Ha! How rich, Shukaku laughed. I'll finish you off with one attack. Shukaku opened his mouth and breathed in. Watch it, Kit, Kyuubi warned. He's about to blast you both with a ball of air. It can crush you into the ground. Futon Ronkyudan, wind release, compressed air ball. Shukaku spat out a ball of air at the dome Naruto and Tao were in, fiercely blasting them backwards. Luckily for Naruto though, the Tao's dome held. Grr, you won't be saved by that tiny chakra force field boy, Shukaku growled. Tao landed the dome on the ground and deactivated it. Naruto bit his thumb and went through a series of hand seals before slamming it down into the ground again. Kuki Yos no Jutsu, Naruto yelled, summoning another humanoid female fox warrior, only she was armored and geared in yellow. black, purple and black. She looked more human than Fox and had possessed a petite shape, however she was stronger than Tao and she carried a golden staff. /N, this borrowed character is also from Digimon Tamers. Naruto-sama, the new female figure greeted. Sakia, Naruto said, help Tao distract Shukaku momentarily. She nodded and Naruto left them to their work before he went to work planning the possessed Gaara's defeat. Kitsune Funkami no Jutsu, Fox sealing paper technique, Tao said as she leaped high into the air with her sleeve-covered arms outstretched. She then shot thousands of magical, red spell papers from them. The spell papers attacked to the massive Tanuki and bound him to where he was momentarily before they all commused in a fiery explosions. Shukaku growled as the spell paper exploded on him. He quickly raised his tail and used it to smack Tao. Acting quickly, Tao formed the same force field dome around her before the tail struck the dome with a strong force, sending her flying far into the forest and crashing into several trees. Other than that, Tao was unharmed thanks to her shield. Sakia decided to step in and introduce herself to the towering monster. Flying over to the giant Tanuki, Sakia looked at the creature before speedily running through a complex series of hand seals. She then shouted, Supirito Sudareku no Jutsu, Spirit Strike Technique. Sakia summoned 4 mystical fox spirits that were imbued with the elemental powers of fire, water, wind, and lightning. The mystical foxes obeyed Sakia's voice as they went and fought for her. The fiery fox blazed against Shukaku's belly as the Baijuya roared from the attack. The water plunged against it with a strong force over where the previous mystical fox struck along with other parts of the raccoon dog's body. Parts of the Tanuki's body was now glass, which was then struck and destroyed by the lightning fox and scattered by the wind fox as it pushed Shukaku back. Sansukurito Pen Furishu no Jutsu, Sanskrit pen flash technique, Tao said as a large, magical calligraphy brush emerged from her long sleeves, which could be used as both a weapon and a magical staff. Holding the brush, she painted a mystical symbol into the air, which released beams of pure light energy at Shukaku, doing further damage to the sand beast. Shukaku yelled out from the assault as he fell to the ground. Angered from the assault, Shukaku moments later, used its huge tail and swung it speedily at Tao and Sakia. Neither females had time to react when the tail came at them and smashed them hard into the ground, effectively knocking them both unconscious. Damn it, Naruto swore moments after seeing what happened to his 2 summoned female warriors. In his hands was his finished newly written and corrected Ofun paper. The problem at hand was that Naruto had to find a way to hold down Shukaku long enough to apply the corrected seal on Gaara. Naruto's clones would be swatted or blown away by the Tanuki's compressed air ball attacks. Are you going to hide forever, boy? Kyuubi, growled the Tanuki, Futon Ronku Dan. Shukaku opened his mouth and started blasting wave after wave of compressed air balls out all over the forest. Naruto, using Yondaime's super speed, ran and dashed like a blur out of the way of the oncoming attacks before any of them made contact. After several minutes of evasive action, Naruto speedily dashed blur-like to another area of the forest away from Shukaku. Seeing no other way to get to Gaara, Naruto saw that it was time for decisive action. I'll have to risk it, Naruto decided as he pulled off his glove from right hand and pulled his kunai before cutting his palm at the center. Summoning chakra into the bleeding palm, Naruto went through a series of hand seals and slammed his bleeding palm into the ground. Kuki Yos no Jutsu, Naruto shouted as red chakra channeled from Naruto and into the ground before exploding into a massive cloud of white smoke. A strong wind blew followed by a crash as trees were destroyed. Naruto was elevating fast into the air high above the trees. When the massive smoke cloud cleared, Naruto was now standing on top of the head of a most infamous nemesis. Kyuubi no Kitsune, Naruto yelled with his right arm flared up with red chakra. Kyuubi stood with a sinister grin while all 9 of his tails were swishing in the air in all their glory. Before the massive fox could do anything though, an energetic blue collar of some sort appeared and fastened securely around Kyuubi's neck. Around the collar were white and glowing seals. Ah, out at last, Kyuubi stated while emitting strong bloodlust, so you finally decided to summon me, huh kid? Am I to put Shukaku into his final resting place? Actually, I want you to hold down Shukaku long enough for me to wake Gaara from his forced sleep technique, Naruto instructed. Kyuubi looked at the sand Baijuya who was looking back at with the pure contempt. Shukaku-kun, Kyuubi mocked. How nice to see you again before I do you in. I feel the same for you, Shukaku retorted, Kyuubi-chan. The towering fox snarled beastly at the remark before he rushed towards the sand Baijuyu. In spite of Kyuubi's speed, Naruto had no trouble holding his ground, focusing his chakra down to his feet to stick on top of Kyuubi's head. Shukaku moved one of his arms to grab Kyuubi, but the fox moved away, bit into the arm, and tore it clean off. Kyuubi threw the arm away while whipping Shukaku with his tails, the fur on the tails standing out, forming razor-sharp needles. Shukaku tried to retreat and fire off a huge air bullet, however Kyuubi simply destroyed the jutsu with his tail and continued the whipping. Each strike removed huge chunks of compressed sand from Shukaku's body. Shukaku tried to strike back with his remaining arm, but the nimble fox slipped away. Bringing all 9 of his tails together, Kyuubi swung them straight into Shukaku, resulting in the sand Baijuyu being sent flying off the ground and very high into the night skies. While the one-tailed Baijuyu was airborne, Kyuubi took the opportunity to jump high into the air and flip down towards Shukaku, bringing all 9 of his tails together and swinging them down upon the sand Baijuyu, sending him crashing down into the ground with a mighty impact. The great fox landed down on the ground gracefully while looking at the other Baijuyu. Oi, Kyuubi. Quit this nonsense already, we're running out of time, Naruto called as the red chakra flare in his right arm was warning that time was nearly up. Naruto knew that in a couple of minutes the flare would turn blue and start consuming his life force. Kyuubi almost looked disappointed. Damn it. Just when it was getting good. I guess I shouldn't play any longer. Kid, listen. When I say so, jump up on Shukaku and punch that kid awake. That should force Shukaku back into the kid, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded. Got it, Naruto replied. Kyuubi opened his mouth and roared as fire erupted from his mouth, striking Shukaku, who had managed to raise a sand shield. The sand was instantly turned into glass after the flames reached the sand Baijuyu. Kyuubi then rushed towards Shukaku, jumped behind him and bit down onto the sand Baijuyu's neck. Now, Kit, Kyuubi called out. Naruto, using chakra as momentum to spring high into the air, jumped straight towards Gaara. Sand rushed towards him, but a quick burst of fire from Kyuubi stopped the sand, giving Naruto clear way. Wake the hell up, Naruto yelled and punched Gaara square in the face, the one hit being strong enough to wake the sleeping Jinchuriki. Gaara blinked as he was snapped out of his sleep. Shukaku's eyes widened. No. I just woke up. Shukaku roared in anger at being pulled inside the seal again. Kit, beat that bastard up. I'm done here, Kyuubi said and vanished in a massive cloud of smoke back into the seal. Whatever, furball, Naruto replied and rushed towards the still awakening Gaara. Gaara, still under Shukaku's influence, growled, he dispelled my jutsu. Gaara, seeing Naruto coming, managed to use some sand to keep Naruto from reaching him, using sand to grab a hold of Naruto's limbs. Gaara growled as he saw Naruto's grinning face before the blonde teleported from the restraints and reappeared in front of him. Wadash, was all Gaara muttered before Naruto headbutted Gaara hard to his forehead with his headband. Gaara's eyes were wide in shock, while his blood trickled down between them. Naruto, after removing his head off from Gaara's, removed the jutsu marker off of Gaara's left cheek, which he placed on his face earlier when he punched him to wake up, and smashed the Ofun into Gaara's now bleeding forehand and activated the seal. The seal started suppressing away the remainder of the effects of Shukaku's dark chakra, coursing through him, completely separating both into 2 separate beings once again, or at least as separate as a Jinchuriki could be. The sand they were standing on, still in the shape of Shukaku, crumbled and unfortunately for the 2 nins, there was nowhere else to go, but down. Both Jinchurikis fell to the ground, both of them physically drained, some blood streaming from Gaara's head with some of his blood smeared around the metallic part of Naruto's headband. Summoning Kyuubi no Kitsune drained Naruto of a lot of chakra, a penalty for summon the Baijuyu. But luckily the blonde shinobi was still conscious though he was lying on his chest on the ground with Gaara only a couple of feet away from him. You are strong, Gaara spoke in a low tone, tell me what makes you this powerful? What's your secret? There's no secret to it Gaara, Naruto replied, in my life I've found that true strength is determined by true and constructive motives. I strongly believe that if you have a lot of precious people to protect, that will make you strong. Precious people, Gaara asked with a confused expression. Naruto let out a small chuckle. I'm fighting, for the protection of my village, my friends, and my family. Your motives are destructive, you're fighting to prove your own existence through genocide. In the end our goals clash, your objective disagrees with mine, and my desires defy yours. I'll tell you this, Gaara, you won't find true strength, or a purpose for your existence, in slaughtering everyone that comes in your path. Gaara remained silent as Naruto continued, honestly, I believe, if you'd let me, the two of us could become the best of friends. Friends? Gaara muttered. Naruto continued, that's right, in my life, I've grown fond of the people I've come to know as my friends and family, and they don't look at me as a Jinchuriki or as the village's weapon but as a human being. In the end, they're part of the reasons why I didn't turn out to become what sadly happened to you. Gaara's eyes widened. I have a brother and sister that love you, Naruto answered for him, even though they're terrified of you. Still, if you desire to have friends, let them be your first. Understand, Gaara, that it's not too late for you. You can still make constructive changes in your life and find a new way to prove your existence to everyone, showing them that you're an individual and nobody's instrument. Gaara continued to stare at the smiling blonde. In spite of everything that happened, Naruto still sought to help him. After a moment of silence that felt like an eternity, Gaara broke the silence. Thank you, Naruto, my friend. Naruto smiled before using his remaining chakra to lift himself off the ground. After placing his glove back on, he walked over to where Gaara was laying. Kneeling down, Naruto placed Gaara's left arm around his shoulders and lifted him off the ground. Yes, Gaara, Naruto said, I'll be your friend. A moment later, Sakia and Tao appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto-sama, they both greeted. Sakia asked, is all well? Yes, Naruto said, the danger is over. Thank you, both of you. The two female fox warriors nodded before they disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving both Naruto and Gaara alone in the forest. Time to head back, Naruto said while holding Gaara. Naruto then teleported with him out from the forest. Meanwhile, Temari and Kankuro were looking all over for Gaara and Naruto, but surprisingly they didn't find them. They were jumping from tree to tree looking for the two Jinchurikis. Where are they? Kankuro shouted. Where did that blonde Konoha'nin take Gaara? I don't know, Temari said, they disappeared without a trace. Impossible, Kankuro said, with the way those two fight, they ought to have left some evidence of carnage or a fierce battle. After another half an hour, the Suna siblings returned back to the spot they originally found Gaara. To their surprise, they found Naruto standing on the same boulder Gaara was sitting on earlier that night, with an injured and exhausted Gaara being held up by Naruto. Took long enough, Naruto greeted, I was beginning to think that you two would never return. Naruto stepped off the boulder with Gaara as Temari appeared right next to Gaara. Are you alright? She asked her youngest brother. Gaara nodded, yes. After seeing the new seal paper of Gaara's head, Temari looked over at Naruto and asked, how were you able to stop Shukaku? When I wrote and placed the first Ofun on Gaara's head earlier during the chaos, Naruto explained, I rushed through writings. As a result, some of the writings on that seal were done incorrectly, making the seal less effective before Shukaku completely overpowered it and attacked me. This time I managed to write the seal properly, making it as effective as it was designed to be. Shukaku won't be able to overpower this one. Temari nodded in understand as she pulled her little brother over her shoulder and Kankuro came and helped Temari carry Gaara. Naruto, Gaara muttered. Naruto looked at Gaara, yes. Tomorrow, Gaara inquired, at the Hokage Tower, my seal. I've taken care of that, Naruto answered, I came here earlier to tell you that I found a way to fully repair your seal without causing harm to you whatsoever before you went berserk on me. You actually did that, Kankuro asked in disbelief, but you don't even know about Dash. I saw through his mind, Naruto explained as he cut Kankuro off, I can't explain how it happened or why, but Gaara and I had some kind of connection with each other. He shared with me all of his pain, suffering and misery, and all that happened to him throughout his life. He showed me the dark path he was put on and I saw what he was about to damn himself to. I couldn't allow that to happen. Our father wanted him to be a perfect weapon, Kankuro said lowly. Gaara is nobody's weapon, Naruto replied with disgust. I abhor and despise those who rob people of their innocence and use them as tools and instruments for their own personal use and then dispose of them after they fulfill their use. They give humans a bad name. There was a moment of silence between the four of them as a wind blew by them. A moment later. Temari, Kankuro, Gaara said lowly, let's return, back to Baki-sensei. Tomorrow we'll be heading over to the Hokage Tower, where my friend Naruto can repair my seal, as promised. The two Sandnins looked at each other in shock when they heard the word friend come from out of his mouth and addressed to Naruto. Temari looked back at Naruto and asked, can you really repair his seal? I gave him my word, Naruto said, and I never go back on my word. That's my Nindo, way of the shinobi, ... Temari and Kankuro didn't know what to think. Here it was that Naruto is from the very village that Tsunagakuer and Otagakuer were supposed to invade and attack. And Naruto, who's completely oblivious to this truth, took it upon himself to help the very person who's been hated and feared all his life, their little brother. Take Gaara back, Naruto said, he's in need of your attention as you both can see. The older ninjas nodded before they carried Gaara off. As they headed out, Naruto said, and one more thing. Temari and Kankuro stopped in their tracks as they turned to Naruto. Do not participate in that foolish invasion your village is planning with Otagakuer, Naruto warned with a serious tone with no trace of humor in it. The older nin's eyes widened in shock and fright. Naruto knew of the invasion. Did Gaara tell him already? They wondered with fear. But, how did you? Temari stuttered. Naruto answered, when I was in the mindscape with Gaara, the planned invasion was one of the things I saw. I know everything about it and when it's to happen. Kankuro and Temari were more afraid now than before. They knew that Naruto was dangerous, but they never expected that he was this dangerous. He could kill them right now if he wanted, this they both knew. Yet you're letting us go, Kankuro asked, why? Like I said, Naruto retorted, Gaara needs you. In spite of Gaara's history, it's clear you both still care for him more so than anyone else although you two are terrified of him. It's not much, but it's a start in Gaara's redemption. Naruto turned and walked off away from the three Suna siblings. A moment later. Who are you really, Naruto? Temari asked. Naruto stopped and turned halfway to look at the kunoichi. In response, Naruto answered with a smile, an elite genin in training. That's all really. Saying nothing else, Naruto turned and continued on his way, leaving them to their thoughts as they watched his retreating form. Temari, Kankuro, Gaara muttered, I'm sorry. Hearing Gaara apologize shocked and surprised the two older siblings. It's alright Gaara, Kankuro said, come on, let's go back. Temari and Kankuro turned and carried Gaara off back to their hotel. Later back at the Hokage Tower. Tsunade and Sarutobi made their way to the study office. Upon arriving, they found the door opened and Naruto sitting down by the desk with both the forbidden scroll and his new scroll on the desk though neither of the scrolls was opened. They were about to say something when they noticed Naruto dirted and partially ragged clothes. Naruto, Tsunade called out worried as she and Sandaime went over to him, are you alright? Did something happen? I'm fine really, Naruto assured, I just have a lot on my mind, that's all. Does it have to do with those seals you've been studying? Sandaime inquired. Naruto looked at the two Hokages and said, in truth, this situation is far deeper than either of you know. What do you mean? Tsunade asked with a puzzled expression. Naruto took the opportunity to explain in clear details everything that happened after he left the study office. It was quite a while before he was done. It went without say that Sandaime and Godaime were utterly shocked by all of the revelations Naruto gave them, but they maintained a calm and composed demeanor. Knowing that Tsunagakuer is planning on invading us changes everything, Sandaime spoke, Tsunade and I have heard some things about Otagakuer, but there really isn't much we know about them or even where they're located. Still, Tsunade spoke up, we now know about Suna-Oto invasion that's to occur in nearly 2 months' time during the final part of the Chunin exams. This should give us some time to prepare for a counter-attack and evacuation procedures. But we can't alert either Suna or Oto that we're now aware of their plan, Naruto said, we must go about this as though we're completely unaware their plan. They'll be attacking us from within our gates during the last part of the Chunin exams. Tsunade noted, During that time hundreds of ninjas from the other foreign villages will be allowed access within our walls. Our invaders will practically be promised a free ticket inside our village. Sandaime added, it's customary that during the Chunin exams, all villages let go of any aggression they carry towards any other village. It's meant to be a time of peace, where the villages are allowed to gather collectively without feeling threatened, or having fear of a surprise attack. It's a clever yet dirty plan of attack while using tradition and the Chunin exams as cover. We don't want to cause any suspicion by refusing the Suna and Otonins access into our village. If we do, then they'll definitely realize that their plans have been compromised, and something worse might happen. Naruto contemplated. By letting them in, Sandaime continued, it makes it easier for us to monitor their activities. Also, it gives us more control over the situation. But what of Temari and Kankuro? Tsunade inquired. Surely they'll report all that happened earlier to their Jounin sensei. Perhaps, Naruto replied, but I highly doubt they'll try anything, especially since Gaara himself told them not to participate in the invasion. He told them that should I successfully repair his seal, he'll become my ally and aid in stopping this invasion. Sandaime merely nodded his head as he took a puff of his pipe. He then turned to Tsunade. Tomorrow, after Naruto completes the repair of Gaara's seal, we'll summon and hold an emergency meeting with council. We'll later summon the entire Umbu, and all of the Jounins and Chiyunins to explain to them everything that we've learned. We must begin preparations against the Suna-Oto invasion and decrease the risk of casualties. Tsunade nodded in understanding before turning to Naruto. Naruto, Tsunade asked, about that Kinjutsu Oji? Have you made any progress with it? Progress isn't the word I'd choose to describe it, Naruto said. After many grueling hours studying those seals, I've finally managed to develop a revised version of the Shiki Fujin and incorporate it with the 8 trigrams sealing style and the 4 symbols seal. In short, I created an entirely new Kinjutsu Oji. Sandaime nearly dropped his pipe from his mouth on hearing that while Tsunade looked at Naruto in disbelief. Developing and mastering seals on that level required the expertise of a true and experienced seal master. Naruto picked up the smaller scroll that had the new Fun Kinjutsu Oji writing down in it. Sandaime saw that Naruto was speaking truth before the boy picked up the larger scroll and handed it back to him. Thanks Ji-san, Naruto said, I've completed my use for the forbidden scroll and it can now to be locked back in its proper place. Sandaime nodded as he held the scroll and watched Naruto place the other scroll in the cabinet and locked it away. The older man was about to say something when. The seal will work, Naruto said with a convinced tone, I give you my word, and as you know, I never go back on my word. Sandaime nodded and decided to leave it at that. Yes Naruto, Sandaime agreed, I'm confident in your abilities. With that Sandaime left the room to return the forbidden scroll back in its place. Tsunade walked over to her son and placed her hand over his shoulder as her sign of approval. Well done my son, Tsunade smiled, you're on your path on becoming a great Hokage, perhaps better than any of us I'll say. Thanks I guess, Naruto said while scratching the back on his head. Now let's get you cleaned up, Tsunade suggested, it's clear that you didn't have enough chakra left to heal yourself. That's the other thing I forgot to mention, Naruto said, though most of my own chakra was depleted however, Kyuubi used his to heal most of my injuries. The fox doesn't like the idea of a weak vessel much to my surprise. Then again, Kyuubi was always an arrogant prick. Oh shut up, Kyuubi retorted. While in that case, Tsunade said, let's make sure you didn't suffer any ill effects from Kyuubi before getting you clean clothes. Naruto sighed to himself as Tsunade led him out of the room before closing and locking the office door. How can I become a great Hokage if Kaa-chan keeps babying me, Naruto thought to himself. Simultaneously though, Naruto could have sworn he heard Kyuubi snickering at his plight. Later elsewhere. Back at the hotel, Temari and Kankuro had just finished explain everything to Baki in detail. The Suna Jounin remained quiet as he listened to every word the two siblings were telling him. What shocked him though was the fact that Naruto allowed the three of them to go free in spite of knowing about the invasion. So what now? Kankuro asked. Naruto clearly knows about the invasion that's to happen in 2 months and by now I'm sure he's informed the two Hokages about it. Baki remained silent as he measured all of the possible outcomes of whichever decision they choose. After several minutes, Baki said, we'll go with what Naruto is offering your brother. Judging from everything that you both have told me, there's more to this Naruto character than meets the eyes, especially since he was able to not only survive and defeat Gaara, but was able to befriend him and gain his trust as well. You don't suppose that Naruto could be planning an ambush for us? Kankuro inquired. As we speak, the Konoha could the heading this way. Naruto could have clearly killed all three of you on the spot from what you all told me, Baki retorted, but he chose not to in interest of helping Gaara. It would be a waste if Naruto went through all that trouble to help and befriend Gaara just so he could simply ambush the four us in the end. Kankuro found truth in his Jounin sensei's words. Naruto sincerely seeks to help Gaara, Temari said calmly before a smile formed on her face. He's the first person in a long time who wants to help our little brother redeem himself without fear of approaching him. I must admit that Naruto is really quite a guy. But what will we do about the invasion? Kankuro asked. We'll worry about that later, Baki said. Tomorrow you all will report to the Hokage Tower and see Naruto and the Hokages. There's no point in hiding from them anymore. The following day, Hokage Tower that afternoon. Gaara, Kankuro, and Temari entered and made their way towards to the Hokage office. Despite the village's peaceful atmosphere, everyone in the building was doing their jobs with effectiveness, proving that Konoha was indeed quite a powerful village and industrious. The Umbu outside the Hokage office nodded to the three Sunanins and opened the door for them to enter. When the three of them entered, they were greeted with the sight of a young-looking blonde woman sitting at a desk with many documents stacked on the desk, with an old man dressed in the traditional white and red Hokage robes wearing the custom red and white cage hat standing next to her with his pipe in his mouth. Standing at the side of the desk was Shizuan, and Naruto, the Sunin level elite genin, was standing in front of the desk. Greetings to you three, said Tsunade as she looked directly at the four Sunanins as the door to the office closed behind them. Greetings to you Godame-sama, said Gaara as he, Kankuro and Temari bowed in respects. You must the Gaara, Tsunade said, the boy that my son spoke of to us. Yes, Gaara replied, and the ones next to me are Temari and Kankuro. Tsunade and Sandaime simply nodded. Naruto requested my presence here, Gaara said. I'm sure you're aware of his promise to me. I trust he can live up to it, correct? Yes he can, Gaara-san, Sandaime retorted. You see, from what Naruto has explained to us, your seal is incomplete and defected due to how it was poorly designed. Naruto explained that your father, the Yondaime Hokage, did this to you intentionally. That he did, Gaara said. Sandaime and Godame learned about the entire story being Gaara's sealing from Naruto. The very thought that Gaara's own father sacrificed his own pregnant wife for a purpose of turning his unborn son into a living weapon disgusted them. The jutsu used in sealing Shukaku into was indeed crude, Naruto spoke, and it lacks the power to fully contain the Baijuyu inside you. Fortunately, for you Gaara, I can correct that problem. Naruto pulled out a scroll from with his vest and showed it to them as he continued, in my hand is the scroll filled with the required seals that can be used over Gaara's own seal. But won't strengthening the seal weaken Gaara's control over his sand as a side effect? Asked Kankuro. In truth, Naruto answered, the seals I created will not only completely contain Shukaku, but it'll allow the Gaara's seal to leak Shukaku's chakra back into Gaara's own chakra. This in effect will strengthen Gaara's control of his sand and grant him the ability to sleep and lose his insomnia. Gaara's eyes seemed to have lit up on the thought of having better control of his sand and finally being allowed to sleep in peace without worrying about Shukaku devouring his mind. When can we begin? Gaara asked with a glint of hope in his voice. Follow me, Naruto gestured as he led Gaara out of the office and toward the chamber Sandaime prepared for them for the sealing repair ritual. Sandaime, Kankuro, and Temari followed the two younger boys to the chamber. Upon their arrival though, Naruto told the older Suna siblings to wait outside of the room. Kankuro objected to this, but Naruto firmly told them that the seal repair process was to take a few hours because of the complexity of the new Funkinjutsu Oji and that he wanted no one to have a cross to the scroll he wrote the new seal in. Naruto assured him that Gaara would be fine after the process was over. Kankuro relaxed and complied into waiting with Temari outside the room and at the waiting area of the tower. Inside the chamber, Gaara dropped his gourd down to the ground with a loud thud following its release. Naruto then asked him to remove his clothes from the waist up and lay down on his back on top of the futon. Gaara complied and did just so. Kneeling in front of Gaara, Naruto and Sandaime saw the design structure of the defected seal on Gaara's stomach. Here is where the new seal will be applied, Naruto said as Sandaime examined Gaara's seal. Opening the scroll, Naruto went to work in repairing Gaara's seal with Sandaime giving his assistance wherever he could. As Naruto made clear, the process was a long one though Yondaime guided Naruto through the procedure. Meanwhile, Kankuro and Temari waited patiently in the waiting lounge for Naruto to be done with the seal repairs. Both siblings felt edgy about the whole thing, especially since Konoha and Umbu were constantly walking about the place. Shizune came and calmed the Sunanins, assuring them of Naruto's abilities and training by Konoha's bests. After another hour, the new seal was finally in place over Gaara's old one. Naruto then channeled chakra into his hands and onto the new seal, thus activating and triggering it to move and completely integrate with the old one. The seal repair is complete and has been activated. Gaara, Naruto said as he stepped back from the red-haired boy, how do you feel? Gaara didn't give an immediate reply as he stood up and placed his clothes back on before picking up his large gourd. A moment later, the cork of the gourd popped off and sand began pouring out before calmly swirling around Gaara. You were correct about the new seal's abilities, Naruto, Gaara said. I can control the sand in my gourd more effectively than before and Shukaku no longer torments me with his raging bloodlust. I am in your debt, Naruto, as well as to you, Sandaime-sama. Gaara retracted the sand back into his gourd before he corked it. All the while, Temari and Kankuro were still in the waiting lounge. Moments later, Naruto, Gaara and Sandaime entered the lounge. It's done, Gaara said. Naruto kept his word in repairing my seal and as promised, it's as effective as he said it would be. Needless to say, the Suna siblings were speechless at what Gaara was telling them. It amazed them that so much have happened to completely change their lives after entering Konoha yesterday. Originally they were willing to participate in the invasion of Konoha, but after everything that has happened and how Naruto has helped Gaara in ways that no one else could or even tried to do, they couldn't find it in themselves to want part of the invasion anymore, understanding that doing so would betray everything Naruto has willingly done for them out of his want. Naruto, Gaara said, there's something that we need to discuss with you, your mother and Sandaime-sama. It's in regards to the upcoming invasion, correct? Naruto replied. Gaara merely nodded, not being too surprised that Naruto already knew about it, seeing that they had a mental link to each other's mind last night. Temari and Kankuro went over to Gaara and stood beside him. Sandaime-sama, Gaara requested, will it be possible to have your Umbu retrieve and bring Baki-sensei here? Though he's aware that Naruto and you yourself know of the impending invasion, however, his loyalty to the three of us is still debatable. I understand, Sandaime said. I'll see to it that your Jounin instructor is brought here with as little trouble as possible. Gaara nodded quietly. With all that's happened to him throughout his life, Gaara was now taking steps to redeem himself and fix his life. Chapter 25, Reminisce. 3 days later. Naruto, age 13, was presently by himself at one of the training grounds away from the village. He was practicing all of the snake fighting styles and jutsus Anko taught to him along with his own fighting styles. Later he summoned 30 clones and started fighting with them fiercely as though he was in actual combat. His clones being as versed in his fighting styles made them more of a challenge. After a long and rather brute-sparing battle with the clones and puffing all of them out of existence, Naruto decided to take a break and catch his breath. While sitting down at one of the trees for shade, Naruto thought back to what happened after the ceiling repair was completed. 3 days ago, at the Hokage Tower. Naruto, Sandaime, and the 3 Suna siblings were on their way back upstairs to the Hokage office. While walking there silently, Naruto conversed with Yondaime. The ceiling was a great success, Naruto, Yondaime said. I'm proud and impressed by your accomplishments. Thanks, Naruto replied. But I couldn't have accomplished the entire process through if it weren't for both yours and Ji-san's help. Doing the actual work of applying that new seal on top of Gaara's defected one was more of a challenge than I gave it credit for. I knew it would be long and complicated, but I didn't expect for it be longer than I counted on. Not everything in life is as we expect them to be, Yondaime replied, just like your use with Shunshin. The way you use that jutsu, one would assume that it was my Hiration. I know, Naruto agreed, but it's not. When I used that jutsu to teleport with Gaara to that location far and deep in the forest last night, I was able to do so because I was teleporting from one jutsu marker I placed in that forest to another and to another and to another. Months earlier, I placed those jutsu markers in a path formed some distances from each other through the forest, which allowed me to speedily teleport from marker to marker until I reached my destination. A clever substitute for the Hiraishin, Yondaime noted. But still not as powerful or as fast, Naruto replied. As you already know, Shunshin is only a D-rank jutsu that only allows me to travel at shorter distances than the Hiraishin, which is an S-rank jutsu that would allow me to move over far larger distances with ultra super speed, far faster than Shunshin. Well, Hiraishin is a jutsu of my creation which I will teach you in due time, Yondaime said. And speaking of jutsus, how are those two new prototype futon and medic jutsus you've been working on in secret for the past year coming along? I'm still working on perfecting them, Naruto replied. Months earlier, all of my previous tests and experimentations on that new medic jutsu have failed and I haven't gotten the new seals I'm creating quite right yet. Yondaime continued to listen. However, Naruto continued, after mastering that learning and experience absorption jutsu Ji-san taught me few months ago with Kage Bushin, combining that with healing chakra will make a breakthrough in the medic field for sure. As for my new futon jutsu, it's nearly perfected but I still have to practice it with my wind affinity. You remind me of myself back in my days when I spent all that time trying to create and master the Raise Non, Yondaime said. After much hard work I finally did it and I'm sure you will as well with that new medic and futon jutsus you're creating. Thanks, Naruto replied before ending his conversation with his father as he and the others with him entered the Hokage office, Tsunade and Shizune already inside awaiting their arrival. I trust that the process was a success. Yes, Tsunade greeted as everyone entered and closed the door behind them. Gaara nodded and confirmed, yes. Naruto has lived up to his promise to me. My seal has been completely repaired. Excellent, Tsunade nodded. We dispatched a few Umbu to retrieve their Jounin sensei Baki, Sandaime spoke up. Gaara requested this before we discuss the matter of the Suna Oto invasion any further. Tsunade nodded again in understanding. It was long when Baki was led to the Hokage office where everyone else awaited him. The Suna Jounin entered the office without meeting any hostility from either the Umbu, or the two Hokages were looking straight at him with Naruto standing next to the desk from the right and Shizune was standing next to Tsunade from her left and Sandaime to Tsunade's right. The Suna siblings were standing together to the left opposite of Naruto. Tsunade dismissed the Umbu, leaving them alone in the office. I'm assuming you know why you were brought here, Baki-san, Tsunade spoke. Baki nodded. It's in regard to the repair of Gaara's seal and the invasion my village has planned with Otagakure. She nodded. My son has successfully repaired Gaara's seal. From what I was told, Gaara promised to tell Naruto everything about the invasion should the seal repair prove to be a success. But my son learned of the invasion before Gaara verbally told him anything. Yes, I know, Baki confirmed. There's no point in lying or attempting to escape the truth. Your Kazekage is planning on invading our village and is using the Chunin exam as cover for his operations, Tsunade stated. Yondaime Kazekage-sama, Baki began explaining, joined forces with Shadaime Hokage in his future attack on Konoha in hopes to teach Kaze no Kuni no Daimyo, the land of Wind's Lord, a lesson and to re-establish the Tsunagakure's military force. Tsunade, Sandaime, and Naruto remained quiet as Baki continued. With our military forces being scaled down by Kaze no Kuni no Daimyo, Yondaime Kazekage-sama realized that we had to increase the quality of each shinobi to maintain a military force. As more time passed, the Daimyo started commissioning your village with requests he should have been making to Tsunagakure. On top of that, he had begun cutting back on Tsunagakure's military budget. Kazekage-sama was infuriated and sought to find other means to strengthening our military might. So he believed that a major attack on our village would leave us spending more time on rebuilding our village than doing missions, Sandaime interpreted, and that Suna would be taking jobs that Konoha would normally have been taking from you. In hopes that many of our shinobis would be injured or killed in the invasion, a lot of people would be looking elsewhere for shinobis to do missions, places like Tsunagakure. Baki nodded wordlessly. Shikaka was sealed into Gaara in hopes of turning his own son into your village's ultimate weapon, Naruto spoke up after a long period of silence, but things didn't work out as planned, did they? The Shikaka was sealed within Gaara during his birth on the order of his own father, Baki explained. This was done with a possession jutsu by one of Tsunagakure's elders, a woman named Cho. Because a human sacrifice was required, Gaara's mother, Karura, was used. Before her death, Karura cursed Tsunagakure, hoping Gaara would avenge her death. We're already aware of that, Baki-san, Naruto remarked. The reason why Gaara's own father had inflicted such a fate of having Shukaku sealed within Gaara, Baki continued, was due to our country's daimyo slowly declining Tsunagakure, minimizing our ability to defend ourselves. The daimyo even started offering jobs to other hidden villages instead of his own. Realizing what was happening to his village, Yondaime Hokage-sama saw that our shinobis would have to be of much higher quality than ordinary shinobis to challenge, and Gaara was to be our ultimate weapon. So he sacrificed his own son and wife for military gain. Naruto summarized with strong disgust, your Yondaime is the complete opposite ours who has long passed. Regardless of the reasons or the intentions, what your Hokage has done to both his wife and Gaara was despicable. And this planned duo village invasion makes it worse. We were heavily burdened, Baki admitted, our village was weakening and our defense forces were in desperate need of financial support. Tsunagakure would have been left open to attacks by stronger villages were they to have known of our situation. Hokage-sama did everything in his power to strengthen our defense forces and almost all of his efforts ended in failure. The alliance with Otagakure for the invasion was a last resort and he's completely bent on carrying out this invasion against your village. There was a moment of silence among everyone in the office. The two Hokages, Naruto and Shizune, processed everything they were informed about in detail from Baki. Do you suppose there's a way to stop this invasion without bloodshed? Sandaime asked after a long period of silence. Not likely, Baki answered. Hokage-sama is completely resolved in seeing this invasion through with the Otokage and re-establishing Tsuna's military might. Speaking of Shadaime Otokage, Tsunade asked, would you happen to know who he is? Baki was quietly momentarily when he finally answered, Orochimaru. All but the Sunanin's eyes widened in disbelief upon hearing that revelation. Are you serious? Sandaime asked. Baki was about to say something when. I can believe that, said a new voice. Everything turned to see Jiraiya crouching on the opened window before entering the office. Jiraiya, Tsunade said, don't you ever use the door like everyone else. Some of the time, Jiraiya said as he stepped over to where Naruto was. Ero-jisan, Naruto greeted, it's been a while. Much has happened while you were away. Like your fight with this Jinhuriki over there last night, Jiraiya said while pointing to Gaara, shocking everyone in the room. You know about that, asked a shocked Naruto, but how did you dash? I was in the area that night, while making my return back here when I caught sight of that battle, Jiraiya explained. And you didn't think of stepping in to stop it? Tsunade asked while holding on to her anger. Jiraiya replied, Tsunade-hime, we didn't train this kid not to be able to take care of himself and he had the situation under control. Maybe from the binoculars you saw it from, Naruto remarked. Gaara while under Shukaku's total influence was really giving me a hard time, and Shukaku really had it in for me. Thankfully I managed to end the battle before things got any worse than they already were. And the new Funkinjutsu Oji you created and used on Gaara's old seal was a success, correct? Jiraiya asked. Naruto nodded to him. Just how much do you know, Jiraiya? Tsunade asked suspiciously. Jiraiya shrugged, information travels to me here and there. Plus you ought to leave that window closed sometimes, Tsunade-hime, as I was able to overhear your conversation with Shizune about the seal repair earlier. Tsunade snorted with annoyance while wondering for how long Jiraiya was by the window listening in on everything being said. And speaking of information traveling to me, Jiraiya continued, many of the things I heard from Baki about Tsunagakure is also what I heard through my spy network. I was actually on my way back here to inform both you and Sarutobi-sensei about it. The Sunanins were surprised by this. They saw that even if Gaara didn't tell Naruto about the invasion or if Naruto and Gaara's minds didn't link, Konoha was going to learn about the invasion regardless in advance. I suspected that Orochimaru was the Otokage of Oto, Jiraiya said, though I was unsuccessful in locating exactly where Otagakure is even through my spy network. It's been difficult keeping an eye on Orochimaru's activities seeing that he knows ways of covering his tracks, and he often relocates from one base to another. I'm sure that during the attack sometime around the concluding 2 or 3 matches of the Chunin exams, Orochimaru intends to kill both Sarutobi-sensei and you too, Tsunade. That way if his invasion doesn't turn out the way he anticipates it to, it'll be difficult to find both of your replacements taking your places as Hokages. Beside the daimyos, Tsunade spoke. Gaara's father the Kazekage along with his Suna bodyguards will be seated next to me during the final Chiryunin exam. He'll be disguised as somebody important in order to get close to us undoubtedly. Whatever the case, Sarutobi stepped in, we'll have to be on guard when he decides to make his presence known to us. Until then, Tsunade said, we have 2 months to prepare and that's what we're going to do. End flashback. The following day, Naruto recalled, Tsunade held a meeting with the village advisors, all of the clan leaders and village elders. Sandaime and Tsunade explained in detail everything that happened with regards to Naruto and Gaara and the upcoming invasion from Suna and Oto. Danzo suggested an immediate and full military strike against Tsunagakure before they could initiate the invasion. Sandaime and Tsunade however dismissed that suggestion, making it very clear that resorting to that course of action would result in needless innocent civilian casualties of Suna who have nothing to do with the invasion. They also made clear that going through with that course of action would alert Orochimaru that his plan has been compromised, and that in effect would make matters worse since Orochimaru would seek a more aggressive and deadlier method of attack Konoha. Sandaime suggested that it would be best to deal with the Oto ninjas, and the Suna ninjas and not senselessly slaughter defenseless civilians who neutral to the invasion. Danzo wasn't at all pleased with that suggestion however there wasn't really much he was able to do with both Hokages agreeing to follow another course of action instead of his suggestion. Tsunade and Sarutobi discussed the civilian evacuation procedures they were going to plan with the Chiryunins and Jounins, and the counter-attack against the Suna and Oto ninjas. Baki said that he was going to do everything in his power and persuade as many of his fellow Suna nins not to take part of the invasion in hopes of decreasing the loss of lives of his fellow Suna nins. While still sitting under the tree, the blonde-haired shinobi bit his thumb and performed a series of hand seals before slamming his bleeding thumb down to the ground. Kuki-yos no jutsu, Naruto said before a cloud of white smoke appeared. Moments later, the smoke cleared to reveal a small half-kid/half-fox creature standing in front of him with a widened grin on his face. "N, I don't own Inuyasha, I'm just borrowing this character from that anime." "Shippo," Naruto greeted. "Naruto-sama," Shippo exclaimed with a toothy smile, "what's up? It's been a long while since you last summoned me." "Yes I know and it left with me quite a memory," Naruto said as he thought back to a mean-spirited prank that was pulled in class as an evil grin formed on his face. Flashback, a year and 4 months ago. Naruto was in class with his friends, completely bored out of his mind like so many others in the class. Hinata and Ino were sitting next to him as usual while listening to what Iruka was saying. Both Naruto and Sasuke eyed each other as if they were having a standoff. This ended when "Naruto, please pay attention," Iruka said, "this is important information we're reviewing for tomorrow's exam." "Whatever," Naruto retorted, "you ought to rebuke Sasuke as well since his attention was gazed straight at me. I think he still has it in for me for how I effortlessly knocked him out in front of everyone after he learned of Itaka's defeat to me." Iruka found some truth in Naruto's words when he felt a killer intent aimed at Naruto from Sasuke. "That's enough, both of you," Iruka stated firmly. "HN," was all Sasuke said before turning his hard stare away from Naruto as the blonde Yondaime and Kyuubi container rested his head down on the table. Sighing, Iruka continued on with the lesson, unaware that a particular creature stealthily made its way into the classroom and over to his desk before making a fast exit without alerting anyone to its presence. After 11 minutes, Iruka said, "Sasuke, would you please go over to my desk and read aloud the information in front of the class?" "HN," Sasuke snorted before getting up off his seat and over to the front of the class. Reaching Iruka's desk, Sasuke took the documents from the desk and scanned over it. A moment later, a confused and troubled Sasuke looked at Iruka and asked, "Are you serious about me reading this to the class?" "Yes Sasuke," Iruka confirmed, "read the notes written on the paper please." Turning to the front of the class, Sasuke read aloud, "To ensure maximum success of what was going to be a climatic event, I guided my mouth over to her soft ample breast and lashed my tongue over her hardened nipple as my free right hand reached down her smooth skin and went into her silk pan dash." "What the hell are you reading?" a red-faced Iruka yelled while the entire class burst into a fit of laughter. Kiba, Chuji, Shikamaru, Naruto, and the other boys were in tears as their laughter continued while the stoic Shino had a raised eyebrow. The girls however, minus Ino and Hinata, were looking at Sasuke with passion and lust in their eyes, Sakura especially. I was only reading what was written here on this paper as you told me to, Sasuke replied with a deadpan expression, although his eyes showed that he was furious at the situation he found himself in. Iruka ran over and took the papers from him and scanned it for himself. Who the hell switched my notes with these perverted writings from Ika Ika Paradise? Iruka yelled indignantly. I don't know Iruka-sensei, Naruto laughed, but at least it's safe to say that Ero Sasuke isn't gay. The boys laughed louder. Sasuke is not and was never gay, Sakura yelled back angrily in Sasuke's defense. And how would you know? Naruto shot back, all these girls and you included chasing after him and yet he's never given any one of you a look. Us guys were beginning to worry that we had to start watching our backsides. Choji and Kiba at this point fell off their seats and onto the floor while holding onto their sides as their laughter grew louder along with Naruto's and the others in the class. Sasuke was seething at Naruto, wishing to inflict some serious injuries on the Godame's prized prodigy. That's quite enough, Naruto, Iruka loudly cut in before he tore the papers to pieces before throwing them in the trash, only to find that his actual documents were thrown in the trash by an unknown culprit. At first, he thought it was Naruto, but realized that Naruto was at his seat the entire time and never went into his carrying case since he entered the class. He retrieved his actual documents from the trash can after throwing the torn pieces of paper into the trash. Sorry Sasuke, Iruka apologized, I'll have to find the one responsible for this twisted idea for joke later. Please take your seat. Sasuke did as he was told while feeling the eyes of most of the girls staring lustfully at him much to his annoyance. Later that day, Naruto was back at the training ground after the school day was over. He was doing his training drills when "That was one of my best works if I do say so," said a childish voice. "Thanks for summoning me for it, Naruto-sama." Naruto turned and looked down to see a small half-kid/half-fox creature standing in front of him with a widened grin on his face. "My pleasure, Shippo," Naruto said, "your prank was really a good one." "I'm not a trickster for nothing," the summoned fox boasted, "and thanks for drawing your sensei and everyone else's attention away from me right before I sneaked in. It made my job easier." "I'll think nothing of it." "You know," Shippo pointed out, "that could have been you reading those writings in front of the class if Iruka-san had called on you." "Perhaps," Naruto remarked before he joked, "the only difference is that unlike Sasuke I would have read those writings with feelings." "And have all the girls in the classroom suffer from blood loss and arousal," Shippo laughed, "that's priceless." Both Naruto and Shippo shared a laugh at the thought before calming down. "Unlike me," Shippo snorted, "my older brother Tails is too into gadgets and inventions to appreciate making some good jokes and pranks." "What can I say?" Naruto shrugged, "we all have our purposes in this life. I suppose." "See ya," Shippo said before bursting into white smoke and leaving Naruto alone once again. End flashback. Naruto was snapped back into reality when he suddenly sensed several kunous flying at him and Shippo. The duo jumped out of the way as the kunous embedded into the spot where both Naruto and Shippo previously were. "What the hell?" Naruto yelled as he turned toward the direction where the kunau was thrown in time to see a fist connect with his face. The blonde was sent rolling to the ground as the woman advanced on him, not giving him a second to make a counter-attack. She placed her left foot on his chest the moment he stopped rolling. Naruto looked up to see from whom the ambush came. "What's this?" the woman said. "All that training you came here to do only to be caught off your guard. You got a lot of explaining to do, Yondaime Hokage." "Nice to see you too, Anko-chan," Naruto said with his face to the side. "Hey," Anko ordered, "look at me when I'm talking to you." Naruto turned to face the older woman as his eyes gradually made their way toward her face, starting with the leg that was holding him down. His eyes made their way from her ankle and up her leg while trying his hardest not to look under her skirt, a feat that's easier said than done seeing that he caught a glimpse of what looked like black silk. "Damn it," Naruto mentally yelled, "I feel like freaking Ero-jisan." Knowing him, he'd have died happily from massive blood loss if he was in the situation I'm in now. "If that's the case, Kit," Kuwabai mocked, "don't take it lying down. Why don't you just do what comes instinctive and prove who gets to be on top? You know as well as I do that her place is beneath you." "Shut up, you stupid perverted fox," Naruto yelled while fighting back a blush trying to make its way to his cheeks while doing what he could not to have a nosebleed. Kuwabai snickered at the blonde's plight. "No need to fight it, Kit," Kuwabai taunted, You know she enjoys the sweet taste of you, so just let the blood rush flow. You're disgusting, you that Kyuubi team, Naruto retorted sourly. Naruto's eyes soon reached Anko's face and saw that she was grinning menacingly at him. Something the matter, Anko teased. Nothing really, Anko-chan, Naruto replied. Yeah right, Anko remarked as she placed more pressure on his chest. The blonde shinobi felt the weight of her body being focused on his chest, and he sensed that she was using chakra to add to the pressure. While standing over him, many questions occupied Anko's mind about Naruto. She knew there were many factors about Naruto that made him stand out in the crowd, but there were other factors about him that made him more unique than he was letting on, especially after being briefed by Tsunade and Sandaime about the issues regarding Gaara and how Naruto brought about his defeat before helping him. Anko knew that Tsunade didn't tell her everything about the battle between Naruto and Gaara, and frankly it started to bug her. And seeing how he summoned a creature she's never seen before only added to her suspicions that there was a lot more to Naruto than she was being told. Like I said, Yondaime Hokage, Anko said, you have some explaining to do. You mean as in how you caught me off guard, Naruto answered. No, she retorted, as in what that summoned creature that was talking to you was. You mean me, Shippo yelled as he jumped over to her. Anko speedily turned and grabbed the small humanoid fox boy with her left hand. Seeing the momentarily distraction, Naruto hurriedly ran through a series of hand seals and shot snakes from out of his right arm and onto Anko's leg. Before she could react, Naruto effective threw her off him before he got up from off the ground. Losing her hold on Shippo as a result from the impact, Shippo took the opportunity to run over and stand next to Naruto seconds before Anko stood back up off the ground. The special Jounin looked at the blonde who standing in front of her. Naruto, Anko interrogated, what really happened between you and Gaara? What do you mean, Anko-chan? Naruto asked quizzically. Don't play dumb with me, Anko shot back. I know there are pieces of that story that your mother purposely failed to mention to me and I want a thorough explanation. Naruto thought about it for a moment before looking at her serious. I'll explain everything that happened between me and Gaara, and everything that happened long before that to you in full details when drop that mask that you're always wearing. Mask, Anko replied quizzically, I don't wear masks. That's something Kakashi does. You know what I mean, Anko, Naruto stated with the same serious demeanor. Anko saw that Naruto didn't use the Chan honorific with her name, but she didn't let her facial expression show it. Naruto continued, you may fool the villagers and everyone else, but you not fooling me. You hide a lot of anger, sorrow, and hurt within you, and I'm sure Orochimaru is the center of it. I want to know when you are going to fully open up to me like you said you would someday. Anko unconsciously placed her right hand over the left side of her neck before she whispered, it's not as easy as you make it sound, Naruto. I know, but I'm not asking you to drop it for everyone, though I would like you to. I'm not asking you to drop it all at once. It's not that easy, she shouted. Naruto saw that she really wanted to change the subject, but he wasn't about to go for that this time. Like all the other times, she refused to tell him about her past with Orochimaru. I know it's not Anko-chan, but it's something you're going to have to get off your chest and tell somebody. I've been trying to get you into opening up to me, but you keep pushing it to the side without giving it a second thought. I really want to help you through this, all you have to do is trust me. Just tell me how it started and I promise once you're finished, you'll feel a whole lot better. Naruto saw that she was struggling and debating with herself as to whether or not to believe and trust him. Anko-chan, Naruto said, tell it to me as your close friend, not as your genin student. She sighed as she searched for the right words to start with. She wondered when the blonde reached this level of maturity that was far beyond his age. I don't know why I'm going to tell you this, Anko started, but for some reason I believe I can trust you. This has never been the easiest thing for me to do, so please bear with me. Naruto just nodded, signaling her that it was all right, so she continued, it started when I was 9, I had just graduated from the academy. At the time I was regarded to be some kind of prodigy, I had the highest grades and graduated as the #1 rookie of the year like you. I was the first kunoichi to get that since your mother Tsunade-sama graduated a few decades prior. It was decided that I would become the apprentice of the Snake Sunin Orochimaru. It's not often that you get to be personally taught by a Sunin, so I was overjoyed, I couldn't have been any happier. She stopped to gather her thoughts before she wiped her eyes of the tears that had started to build up. During those days Orochimaru was a pretty good guy, though a little creepy, at least that's what I thought at the time. He taught me many things as though I was his own daughter. Some of his lessons though were a bit aggressive or brutal, but he told me that the enemy wouldn't give a second thought if they could do it to me, so I never thought about it. When I saw the people that Orochimaru started to experiment on, he told me that they were all missing nins or enemies of our village and not to be worried because they were the bad guys. Once more I by no means questioned him or his methods, but now that I think about it I probably wouldn't have cared regardless. I admired and looked up to him, and as time went on I even started to love him as though he was my own father. It went on like that for quite a while, and when the Yondaime was chosen and Orochimaru wasn't picked, he took me and left Konoha and went to one of his bases on an island where he continued his experiments, and again I didn't think much of it. He was a Sunin and he had free travel rights, and me being his apprentice allowed me to journey with him wherever he went. Therefore no one even gave a second glance after we left. I had no idea that he chose to become a missing nin, and by me going with him would in effect make me one also. It was a couple weeks later when I found out where his missing nins for his experiments were coming from. That fucking bastard was kidnapping people from Konoha and other villages, even innocent children. He was doing detestable experiments that mutated them, a majority of them never even survived the excruciating pain. I didn't know what to think when I found out about it. I loved him as father, I just couldn't grasp why he would do something so wicked. Later I learned about Kyubai's attack and Yondaime's sacrifice and the loss of his wife and unborn son during the attack. Orochimaru actually laughed and said that it served Yondaime and Konoha right and that he was going complete what he started and destroy Konoha. I was in denial and I didn't want to believe all that was happening, and that was also when I learned that we had become missing nins. That was when I had finally managed to ask him why he did it, why did he left. But he wouldn't answer my questions and he'd just go about with what he was doing. I didn't understand it. I struggled and struggled to get him to stop and return with me to Konoha. I actually begged the bastard to return back and that they would forgive him. I told him that I loved him as though he was my father and that I wanted him to come back with me. At this point Naruto saw that Anko was already crying from all the painful memories she was remembering in detail. The blonde remained quiet as he allowed her to continue uninterrupted. He saw that it was a very painful story for her to recall and tell to him. I thought that he could be persuaded and that I could actually change his mind. But he just looked me in the eye and called me a foolish apprentice. He asked me if I would come with him and leave. I couldn't believe what the person I respected and admired so much was doing. He asked me one more time if I wanted to come with him or not, but I remained silent. Part of me wanted to go with him, but I knew that what he was doing was wrong. He called me a foolish apprentice again and left me there in the lab. I just brought my hands to my face and cried for what felt like hours. Then Orochimaru returned and stood in front of me and said that if I won't come with him, then he'll leave me a going away present, and that I may come of use to him in the future should I require it, if I survive. At that he stretched his neck out and bit me on the left side of my neck and the curse seal appeared. It was the most excruciating experience of my life. I lost consciousness after that, and when I regained consciousness, I found myself back in Konoha being interrogated for treason in connection with Orochimaru. Naruto saw how Anko was releasing all of her pent-up emotions that she buried so deeply within her being. It saddened Naruto to see how people are treated and thrown away like trash. The one that she loved and admired, betrayed and abandoned her. He knew that what Anko suffered was a very painful experience, but he sensed that there was much more to her story, and so he asked softly, "So what happened after that?" They would question me, but I would just remain silent and never spoke or lifted my head up to look at anyone. I felt empty and numb. I just kept replaying what happened to me repeatedly, that I was completely oblivious of my surroundings. Several days passed like that, I suppose, before Sandaime decided to talk to me. He saw my situation and didn't hate me for it. He knew that I didn't understand what happened until it was too late. He helped me get everything cleared up and allowed me to become a kunoichi of Konoha again, though I was still under probation for some time, but Sandaime trusted me and even placed a seal over the one Orochimaru gave me to keep it from acting up. The villagers, however, were another story entirely. Everywhere I went I was called snake whore, serpent or traitor. They figured that since I was Orochimaru's apprentice that I would become just like him. No ninja would work with me, and I didn't have any friends. Parents pulled their children away from me as though I was a venomous viper seeking to poison and kill them. Every night I would just cry myself to sleep, and when I did fall asleep I would have nightmares of all of Orochimaru's experiments I witnessed. I couldn't rest, not even when sleeping, for fear of either Orochimaru or the villagers attacking my house. So I resorted to drinking in hopes to just drink away my pain and sorrow. The whole flirty, bloodthirsty persona kept people from getting too close, just how I wanted it. It worked well for a while. I didn't have nightmares anymore, and I didn't have to worry about anyone getting too close. I would do solo missions whenever possible, and when not on missions I was drinking myself into a drunken stupor. Eventually though, the curse seal started acting up, and the pain from the seal became continuous until Sandaime used another seal that depended on my willpower to work. I started having nightmares again, and I was always trying to resist the mental attack by Orochimaru trying to get me to surrender to the seal. I abhorred it. I even contemplated suicide, but I was never able to bring myself to do it. So I resorted to dangerous missions that had low survival rates, and even that didn't work. I was at the end of my mind and was being driven to madness. That's when I met Kurane. She didn't treat me like the others. We hung out and talked about trivial subjects and went out to drink. By that time my mask was already up and fooling everyone. No one had any idea what I went through behind closed doors. Later she introduced me to Kakashi, Asuma, Guy, and Genma. I had what I could call friends, though I never allowed anyone in to know of my true sufferings or true feelings other than the smiles and flirting, but it was better than nothing. I didn't want to scare away the few friends I had by showing them what I was really going through, and so I kept the mask up. Deep down, however, I knew that it wasn't enough. I was lonely and I felt like there was no one to understand my pain, and if there was, I was too afraid to open up for fear of being betrayed again. Plus most guys just avoided me entirely out of fear. It continued like that for years until you approached me at the dango shop. In spite of how harsh I was to you, you saw through it. You really wanted to try and get to know the real me and become my friend. So that's my story in a nutshell. She tried to laugh as she continually wiped her eyes of the tears that continued to flow. It amazed Naruto that he kept finding ninjas who lived harsh, cruel, and very lonely lives. There were Haku, Gaara, and now Anko. What they all had in common was that their pain was caused by those they once considered family. It saddened Naruto that those who people looked at as family could be so vicious to those that at one time loved them and desired their attention and affection. I'm not going to lie or bullshit you and say look at the brighter side, because I know for a fact that's not something you want to hear. However, I will say that as long as you are willing, you don't have to carry that burden alone. I know I can never say I understand your pain, but I know that it hurts so much. Back then when we first met, I really wanted you to believe me when I say that I wanted to be your friend. I've seen firsthand how the villagers have treated you in contrast with how I'm treated, and I always felt bad about it. It's not your fault, so you don't have anything to apologize to me for, Anko reassured while trying to regain her composure. The older woman knew that her being with Naruto since she was assigned as his Jounin instructor helped to improve her image among the villagers. The thought that Tsunade placed her son into Anko's hands was considered madness by the villagers at first. However, that was proven false when Naruto would stand up for Anko in her defense, much to the surprise of many of the villagers. These were among the reasons why Anko grew fond of the boy, though her way to showing it was most unorthodox. Still, Naruto relied, "Thank you for sharing this with me, though it wasn't easy for you to do." "Don't think for a minute that this means I'm going soft," Anko replied after regaining her composure, "but thanks for hearing me out." "My pleasure," Naruto said in return, "that's what friends for each other. And to tell you the truth, I think if the villagers knew the truth about what really happened to Kyuubi, I'd be the most despised person in all of Konoha with few if any friends." Anko looked at the blonde questionably on hearing that. "What do you mean?" Anko asked. "Kyuubi was defeated and killed by Yondaime 13 years ago, and his wife and unborn child died that same night." There was a brief moment of silence before Naruto spoke again. "Anko-chan," Naruto started, "Kyuubi was indeed defeated but far from killed, and the same goes likewise for Yondaime's surviving child." "What are you talking about?" Anko questioned. "We all know that dash." "Anko-chan," Naruto asked seriously, "haven't you ever wondered why Yondaime and I look alike?" Anko stopped to take a really good look at the young shinobi, and when she thought about it, she couldn't deny what she was seeing. She's seen many pictures and portraits of the Yondaime in Konoha's historical archives, and the picture of his wife, and when Anko mentally compared Naruto's features to theirs. It can't be, Anko said in absolute shock with widened eyes, you can't be dash. I am, Naruto replied, I'm Yondaime's surviving son and legacy, my birth name is Namikaze Naruto and my birth mother was Namikaze Kushina whose maiden name was Uzumaki Kushina. The older woman gasped in utter disbelief. Standing in front of her was the child of the greatest Hokage who ever lived. How can this be? Anko asked with a lowered and shocked voice. Naruto told her to sit down as he was going to explain to her everything in details. This is a double S-class secret and can never be told to anyone without my say under the law of Sandaime and Yondaime Hokage with death being the penalty for disobedience, Naruto said, I trust one can share this story with you, yes. Anko simply nodded as she allowed Naruto to speak. She listened to every word Naruto was telling her about Yondaime before Kyubai's attack on the village. He explained to her everything that happened days before Kyubai's attack and what happened during the Baijuya's attack. Naruto explained how his birth mother died giving birth to him and though he was premature, he survived. He then told her how Yondaime, with a heavy and broken heart, had to use an ancient Kinjutsu Oji he found to seal away the Kyuubi since no living mortal could actually kill a Baijuya. Anko didn't interrupt Naruto as he told her everything in details, he explained it in the same way Sandaime explained it to Hinata and Ino after they were rescued by Naruto from Itaki and Kisame. Naruto was careful not to reveal that Yondaime himself was sealed into him but only his chakra, along with the Kyuubi. Naruto explained the entire adoption matter with Tsunade and how he's been her only prized son ever since, blood-related or not. He also explained why very few know who his real father is and what would have happened if his father's enemies were to have found out years earlier whose son he was. He later explained the whole matter regarding Gaara and his life in Suna, and what happened between him and Gaara the night before he repaired Gaara's seal that contained Shikaka the one-tailed tanuki. And that's everything in a nutshell, Naruto said, quite an interesting life I live, yes. Anko said nothing as she processed everything that Naruto told her. What she heard was a lot more than what she was counting on finding out. Here it was that Naruto, the boy she ironically nicknamed Yondaime Gaki for the way he dresses, is in fact the flesh and blood son of Yondaime Hokage, the Hokage that's been greatly revered as the greatest of the Hokages. And on top of this, he's now the adopted son and prodigy of Yondaime Hokage and trained also by Jiraiya, the very son in who taught and trained Yondaime. Alongside this, he was also trained by Kakashi and Shizune while growing up. Sandaime was right about this kid, Anko thought after a moment of silence. That explains why he's so advanced for his age and why even Itaki had problems subduing him. This kid is practically cage level. The special Jounin then thought about what Yondaime did to Naruto in sealing the Kyuubi into him. This was a revelation that she found very hard to believe. For years she's been led to believe that Kyuubi was in fact killed by Yondaime, and now here it was that she was hearing from Yondaime's own son that his father in actuality couldn't kill the Baijuya, so he sealed it away into his own newborn son at the cost of his life. The older woman wondered what life for Naruto would have been like should the villagers were to have learned that Kyuubi was in fact sealed into the son of whom they regard as the strongest Hokage. To add to this, he has a fox summoning contract that was made right after Kyuubi was sealed away into him. She realized that there was so much more to what really happened the night of Kyuubi's attack than she was told by the Sandaime. Looking at the blonde, Anko said, well kid, looks like today has been a most interesting day for the both of us. I always thought that Yondaime succeeded in killing that dem monster. Kyuubi can't be killed by mortals, Anko-chan, nor can any other Baijuya be killed by mortals for that matter, Naruto explained. They can only be sealed away with the use of Kinjutsu Ojis, which was what my father did with me during his battle with Kyuubi. Do you hate your father for what did? Anko asked curiously with no sense of malicious in her voice. Though I didn't have a say in the matter when he sealed Kyuubi into me, however, Naruto answered, I don't hate him. My father did everything in his power to protect this village and everyone who he looked at as precious people. He held back nothing to ensure my and everyone else's survival. He couldn't ask another parent to do something that he himself wasn't willing to do with his own child. I know that was very hard for my father to do what he did, but he was certain that I was capable of containing the Kyuubi. He wanted me to be the hero who saves Konoha every day by jailing the Kyuubi and denying him its freedom to do as it wishes. This was a responsibility he entrusted me with as his surviving heir and legacy. My father loved this village and did what he had to as a father and Hokage to protect all of us with his life. Besides reviving my clan and becoming a great medic nin like Kaa-chan, I intend on following my father's example and surpass my father. These are among the reasons why I want became Hokage. Anko couldn't help but look at Naruto in amazement. In spite of the many troubles and dangers that his life came with, he still had strong positive outlooks for his future. You're truly unique, Anko admitted, but I must admit that I would have never in my all life have thought that I'd be in training and be friends with the sole son of Yondaime. Especially after how you tried to kill me for kissing you by accident, Naruto mumbled lowly under his breath, though I did enjoy some of it. What was that? Anko eyed suspiciously. Oh nothing, Naruto chuckled nervously while scratching the back of his head. You know, Anko remarked with a menacing smile, I should still kill you for kissing me Yondaime Hokage. And which female in all of Konoha wouldn't want to be kissed by the Yondaime's only son? Naruto asked jokingly. Oh shut up, Anko shot back with annoyance as a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. Shippo, seeing this, grinned as something came to mind. Hey, Snake Lady. Anko turned and looked down at Shippo who was still standing next to Naruto. What do you want hairball? Anko said. From what Naruto-sama described about you to me and my Kitsune-kins, and seeing that look on your face, Shippo said, I'd have assumed that you have a crush on him. Wait, Anko yelled at the small humanoid fox who suddenly transformed into a replica of Anko. Yondaime Hokage, Anko said with the exact likeness of the actual Anko, except with a more caring and concerned demeanor. The only thing to distinguish the real Anko from the fake was that Shippo's small fox tail was still sticking out from behind. Anko went over to Naruto and started examining him. Are you hurt? I can help you feel better if you want. Naruto was already felt bloodlust building up from the real Anko and it was directed at the small trouble-making Kitsune. I'm fine really, Naruto said trying to get the fox to knock it off. Do you want me to sleep with you and help revive your clan? Anko said with a lustful tone. You're dead, the now enraged Anko yelled as she ran after Anko who was now screaming before puffing back into Shippo. Damn it, Shippo yelled, can't you take a joke? I'll have some good laughs while watching you being swallowed alive by one of my snakes, Anko yelled back louder. Naruto-sama, please help me, Shippo cried as Anko was shot vipers from out of her sleeves at the fox. You're on your own, Naruto laughed, you got yourself into that mess so get yourself out of it. That's not fair, Shippo cried as he continued running from the angry Anko who hot on his tail with poisonous vipers just a few inches from reaching and biting him. After having his laugh, Naruto dismissed Shippo, causing him to puff and disappear from the area, leaving him and Anko alone in the training ground. That Shippo is always the troublemaker, Naruto said. It's a shame he left, Anko said menacingly, he'd have made a nice accessory as a fur scarf around my neck. Yes I'm sure, Naruto remarked in sarcasm, anyway, it's been a really long day for the both of us. How about we head back and get some dangos, my treat. Being treated to dangos was all Anko needed to hear before her demeanor did a 180 as she ran and retrieved all of her kunaus. Yondaime Hokage, Anko grinned happily at Naruto, you really know how to treat a lady. Going over to the blonde, Anko placed her right arm around his shoulders and pulled him close to her. I hope you have deep pockets because I'm having steak with extra dangos and bean soup with that order. The pair started walking off back to the village while part of Naruto was worrying about how much Anko will eat him out financially since she eats as much dangos and bean soup as he does ramen. What the hell did I just get myself into? Naruto mentally whined as he continued on his way with Anko. What they pair didn't know was that a good distance away from them from a figure who was listening on the conversation between the pair. What the interloper heard from Naruto was most shocking and intriguing. So he's both the son of Yondaime Hokage and a Jinhiriki, said the interloper with a serious demeanor before retracting a particular sword from out of the ground. This changes everything. I'll have to be ready for him if I'm to take him out. I'll have the son of Yondaime as my greatest prized trophy for sure. With that said, the interloper took off from the scene to go about planning an ambush for Naruto. Check the description for the links to the author.